Hello, everybody, and welcome to Something's Off, a true crime podcast where we question the F out of everything true crime related. I am Mel Barrett, your host. My co-host, Rebecca Lavoie, is off on vacation. Well, not really a vacation. She's about to become a mother-in-law. Her son's getting married, and so she's gone until Monday again. Um, we had to cut the stream off last night. It did go for 2 hours because I have a tendency to talk a lot, but we had to cut the stream off last night in the middle of day 11. Rebecca Gelada's testimony was happening, and we were going over that. So we're going to be picking back up from there, and then we're going to discuss what happened on day 12. We're not going to show a lot of that because it was very traumatic. Currently, the case is on day 13, and we have some of the state troopers who are Celebrate experts, and they're going over a lot of what Lindsay was saying in messages, text messages, as well as what her search history was, or at least someone using the computer that they were looking at, what their search history was. It's interesting. It has a lot to do with the children in this case, but it's more about, from Lindsay's perspective, about how she feels like she's failing. I think it's really important testimony. I'm looking forward to going over it with you all. We're going to do that tomorrow, though. And then I do have a bit of good news, which I will tell you about right after a quick break. Good morning, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, allegedly. I'm Smile.
Happy Monday, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie. Happy gay summer, Mel.
Happy hump day, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm not humping anybody. I'm Rebecca Lavoie.
Happy Saturday, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
Oh, no.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and my mic is muted.
Good morning, everybody. I am Mel Barrett.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and that's Briscoe.
And welcome to Something's Off, a true crime podcast where we swat the haters aside with our astute takes and humor and joy. And
the joylessness
I don't give
of those
a
people. Hags.
You hear it first in the break in the story. One little crack and the whole thing gets wary. A witness swears but the timeline bends. A smile too smooth and the trail just ends. Mel Barrett says, hold up, look again. Rebecca Lavoie follows every thread. If it feels too neat, then it's not the truth. There's a shadow line running through the room. Something's off, something's off. You can feel it in the bones. Something's off, something's off. When the facts won't come home. Something's off, something's off. And the case won't stay in place. Something's off. We're the ones who chase.
We're gonna go members only.
Yeah, we're the ones who chase. Wait, did that witness just blink 3 times? Something's off. Something's off.
hello, everybody. Welcome to Thursday, August 13th. We are covering day 11 and 12. Well, we're finishing our coverage of day 11 and going into day 12 of the Lindsay CLANCY case. And right off the top, I want to say welcome to a bunch of new members. Let's see, Catherine, thanks for becoming a new member. Dr. May, glad to see you here. Thanks for being a member. Monica, thank you for becoming a new member. Rory, thank you. ML Bornstein, thank you for becoming a new member. Kelly, thanks for becoming a new member. Ice Skater 817, happy to have you here. Thanks for being a new member. And hello to everybody else. Okay, let's just get to the good news. The good news is that Sam Beningo and I managed to work out a time, and we're going to be doing a stream together on Saturday evening, well, early evening, like 5 p.m. We're going to be talking about Sam's expertise in mental health as it pertains to the Lindsay CLANCY case, and probably we'll delve into some Karen Reed stuff because that's the world that we are most recently coming from. But I just wanted to give you guys first the heads up that we are going to be here on Saturday at 5 p.m. Me and Sam. We were going to try to schedule it for when Rebecca's back, but schedules didn't work out so well. So we're going to do it this Saturday, and I hope you guys will all be here. It's going to be open to everybody. It's not a members only kind of thing. So really excited to have Sam on. I have a ton of respect for her. I love the work she's doing. Also, she does a ton of work on the editing side of things, like when she puts her videos out. And I'm an editor. I know how much work she's doing to get those videos out, and she does such a good job with them. So I'm going to give her props definitely for that. If there's anybody else you guys want to see on the show, let us know. I've reached out to Kevin Reddington. I'm hoping that I can get an email back from him, although he's really busy right now. But it would be amazing to have him on the show, maybe when the trial's over. I may also reach out to Emily Thorndike, the licensed social worker who used to work at McLean, who Kevin Reddington wants to call as a witness in this trial. We'll see what happens with that. And if he does call her, then I'll probably wait until the trial is over. If he does not call her, I'll try to get in touch. Who else? I would love to have Rosemary Scaviccio, and I know that Law Girls Not Attorneys had her on with Sean Ellis, so, but she's also another really busy one, so we'll see. But we're trying to line up some pretty good guests. We'll probably get Bob and Allie back on here to talk about this case once it's over. And we have come to a decision that we are not going to be able to make it to Chicago at the end of August, but we would like to do a Chicago meetup. So Rebecca and I are going to try to work that out for some time in the next, several months. And we're also going to be doing a meetup here in DC, where closer to where I live. And so I'll keep you guys abreast. I'm laughing. God, I'm such a lesbian. When I say abreast, I giggle and I feel like a 12-year-old boy. I'm so stupid. Oh my God, would love to just hear KA do a one-on-one conversation. KA. Why am I not understanding what? Oh, KR. KR, Kevin Reddington. I would love to, I'd love to have a coffee with Kevin Reddington. I just want to hear him. I could listen to him for hours. I think he's absolutely amazing. So we got about 186 people in here. It seems like more are coming in. Please don't forget to hit the like on the way in. The algorithm is screwy over the summer, so help us out by hitting that like button, and of course share and subscribe and comment and do all the things that might help us move up in the algorithm. I would suggest hyping the videos, but it takes a lot of people to get in the hype list. We had a couple of our videos go up to like the top 2, which I thought was kind of awesome. So I don't know, if you feel like hyping, you get 3, use them wisely. And then also, obviously we love the super chats, and the memberships are so amazing. We're going to be reconfiguring the membership tiers and making it just one as soon as Rebecca gets back. So we'll let you know how that goes. And then of course, if you feel like you want to give us your money without having 30% taken out of it from YouTube, you can always send us a tip at Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. The Venmo QR code is at the top, and the Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal are all listed at the top of the screen, and they are pinned in the chat. And if you send a tip, I will read your tip aloud, unless you tell me not to at the very beginning of the message. But I appreciate the tips because it keeps us going here. It keeps us moving. It keeps the lights on. All righty. Let's see where we are. I can drive to DC, but my October is booked. I don't know when we're doing it yet, but we will definitely keep you guys updated, Aaron. I feel like DC is a good, maybe central point for a lot of people. I know we have some people in Ohio and Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, so there's a bunch of states obviously around this area. And it's not hard for Rebecca to get here. So, and I'm sure that we'll do one in Boston at some point. Joy says, everyone should go watch after the stream ends, of course. Thank you for saying that. It varies. A small channel run by 2 therapists / psychologists. They explained what Lindsay's McLean stay might look like, etc. Nice. Also, I would suggest watching the video that Sam put out last night. I was happy to hear that my instincts were right about Gelada. She seemed to be the one most on top of what was going on. Sam does a great breakdown of what's going on with Gelada, and that she's recognizing that Lindsay is in a frantic state, And I think we're going to get a lot more of that today from the testimony that we're hearing from the Celebrate folks. But I've been saying that, yes, I think that Tufts was inexperienced and didn't fully know how to handle this client and was trying to prove herself. And so she dropped the ball. But when it got to the program that where Lindsay was meeting with Gelada and Letitia Dukes, and there's one other one, and I can't think of her name right now. When she started meeting with those practitioners, that's where the ball really got dropped. And I think the ball got dropped because Gelada actually was figuring out what was going on with Lindsay and was trying to walk that fine line between advocating for her client and also realizing that she might have a client who has bipolar and a client who didn't want to hear that she was bipolar. So I think that she was trying to form that therapist or the psychiatrist sort of relationship with Lindsay, but Lindsay was frantically searching all over the place every night, all the different drugs and what the drugs could do to her. And it was just making her brain go, and she was definitely showing signs of being bipolar. And so unfortunately, without that diagnosis of bipolar, she was put on the wrong meds, in my opinion. But I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I feel like Sam kind of touched on that last night. So please go watch Sam's stream after this one, of course, and let me know what you think. Sam has an extensive history in mental health, so she is a really good person to talk to about this case, which is why I'm very excited to have her on Saturday. And I think she's amazing. So that is that. Okay, let me pull up day 11. We were in the middle of Gelada's testimony. I'm going to jump around. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. Interesting, Joy. Joy says, I found all the My Chart messages showed mania. Yeah, the way that she was taking information in and like calling her doctors every day and being like, this one isn't working, this one isn't working, this one isn't working. Just and I said this in the beginning because of how much she was like concerned. I don't think Patrick helped in this situation, and I don't think that's his fault. But I think that they were both very concerned about what a bipolar diagnosis could do to her and their family, unfortunately. And I think that because of that, him saying things like she's definitely not bipolar or whatever he said, wasn't helpful. So, but if her prescribers and practitioners had actually talked to one another or taken extensive notes and shared those notes with the outside treating psychiatrists and therapists and McLean and all these other places, I think everybody would have sort of come to the conclusion that she was experiencing mania. And that's the problem here. And though Kevin Reddington is not a psychiatrist, and I'm not sure he even totally understands, everything that he's actually talking about, he's really doing a great job in showing that she was experiencing mania. And he doesn't even have to put a name on it. He's just showing the jury that she was frantic. And I think that's really helpful for her defense. But we'll see what the jury does with that. We'll see what the jury actually thinks. She'd want to change dose treatment several times a day almost. Yeah. And just the idea, like just that in itself shows how manic she was. Good morning, Rach Knitter. Yeah, no, family cannot be expected to diagnose mental health, even medically trained family, including the patient. Symptoms get brushed off. Yep. So they had this like perfect storm of Lindsay Clancy as a nurse herself. And because of the way she's talking about these drugs, they think that she knows what she's talking about. But it's just because she's been up on the Goog machine all night when she can't sleep, Googling these drugs. And then coming in and talking about them like she knows what she's talking about. And then so they disregard her symptoms because she has the experience to talk about it. But at the same time, the way she was going about it, that's where the mania was. And they should have been able to recognize that. And I think that Gelada did, but I think she felt like her hands were tied. They really established, though, in this testimony that Lindsay signed an RO, meaning like she was allowed to Gelada and the other folks there at this practice were allowed to reach out to her other providers and get the information that they needed about Lindsay, and they just chose not to. And that is where they dropped the ball, specifically Gelada. Oh yeah, I'm wearing gray today because I just played tennis and I had to put on like dry clothes that weren't like soaked in sweat. Okay, let's get into this testimony. I feel like I matched the background though, and that's kind of weirding me out. Is that weird? I feel like I'm a little drowned out. All right, let's see where we picked up here, and then I'll probably jump ahead a little bit.
Normal mood. It asks about like, did you take your medication?
Let's back it up a little bit.
I
addressing the concern of benzodiazepine dependency, right?
correct.
Did you encourage her to do something to help you to kind of manage her treatment track going forward?
Yes.
What did you encourage her to do?
I had noticed that Lindsay was attributing a lot of her symptoms to her medication. And so I attached to the My Chart message 2 different mood charts. And what those one was daily, one is weekly. What it is it asks the patient each day to rate their mood from like 0 to 3. Good mood, bad mood, normal mood. It asks about like, did you take your medications? What doses? What were they? Check the box. How many hours a night did you sleep? What's your anxiety level? What's irritability? And what I wanted from that was, because it had all those parameters about mood and then also the medication, did you take it? We'd be able to track over time what the progression was. Was it getting worse since we started the medication? Was it actually getting better? I just wanted more data.
And were you aware that she was actually tracking those things herself?
No.
Now, you continued to have some back and forth messages with her throughout the course of the day on November 30th, correct?
I'm going to speed this up a little bit, guys.
Correct.
So we have, she reached out to you at 11.
Mm-hmm.
You responded to her at 11:52.
Yes.
There's another message from her at 12:15, right?
Yes.
And just going back for a second, when you were asking her about worsening symptoms, did you ask specifically about suicidal symptoms?
I did.
And why those, if she was expressing some depression and sleep issues?
Suicidal thoughts can be a symptom of depression. And I just wanted to make sure I assessed that one because of its severity.
And is that something that's important to do before you make a recommendation to change a medication?
Yes.
Now, when she responded at 12:15, did she tell you anything about the suicidal thoughts, or if she was having any?
She said she's not at the point of being suicidal.
Okay. She also indicated, but I'm really feeling as if I can't go on like this, right?
Right.
And she asked you to call in the Seroquel.
She did ask me to call in the Seroquel, yes.
So based on her response, did you feel that she was taking the alternative that you were offering?
Yes.
And then at 12:29 p.m., you get another message from her where she asks for a phone call, right?
Yes.
And again, at that point, did you have a phone call with her? Or did you continue to interact with her on the MyChart portal?
I interacted with her on the MyChart between patients, and I had my nurse give her a call.
And again, you said in between patients. So did you have the opportunity to pick up the phone and call?
I did not.
And is that one of the benefits of the messaging portal, that you can get back to somebody quicker?
Yes.
So when, before you were able to respond, did she send you some additional messages on MyChart, if you remember? Or if you could look at your notes.
Okay.
Simna, that's really funny. Please, nobody notice the microphone. Give the witness a mustache from time to time. As soon as you said it, I looked at this and I was like, oh no, oh no. First of all, I just want to say, Rachel, you are the loveliest human being. You're so generous to this channel, and I appreciate you so much. Rachel just sent over $175 tip, which is thank you. And said, thanks for covering this with kindness. I'm so sad, mad, disgusted after yesterday's display from the evil stepsisters. My mood did boost when I saw Chris Albert is getting evicted from D&E, though. Best wishes to Rebecca's family on the wedding. I will let her know. Thank you so much for the very generous tip. You're very sweet and kind and generous. And all I can say is generous. And thank you. And I don't even know what to say, because it warms my heart and it helps so much. And I don't know if you understand how thankful and grateful we are to you. So thank you. Yes, Rebecca and I have a lot to talk about. There was some shenanigans happening with Karen Reed. I'm sure you all have noticed that, or maybe you've heard that the Norfolk County DA's office accidentally gave the McAlberts Karen Reed's full phone extraction. Accidentally. And this is for the defamation case, and they are refusing to delete it. Basically, they've been ordered. I think they've been ordered to delete it, or a request has been made for them to delete it because they should have never received it. But it was accidentally sent over to them by Morrissey's office, and now they're refusing to delete it. And so it's just like more ridiculous shenanigans in this case. We're going to talk about it all on Monday. But anyway, yeah. In the middle of all that. Apparently, Chris Albert hasn't paid his rent at D&E for the past 8 months. The past several months, he owes $8,000 is all I know, and he's refusing to pay it. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe his, mediocre chicken palm is not selling out like it used to. I'm not really sure. But yeah, I know. Was it accidental, Tracy? Methinks it probably was not. Methinks it probably was not. It's ludicrous. I mean, at what point do judges and voters in Norfolk County realize just how dirty of an actor Michael Morrissey is and his entire office? And should there be sanctions? I don't even know what sanctions would be. I don't know who would hold them accountable, but you can't just send out private messages that are used in a case to a plaintiff in a civil suit on accident. There's got to be some kind of sanction for that. This is insane. Okay, don't get me. I'm veering off topic. You're right, Rachel. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Back here.
Additional messages on my chart, if you remember, or if you could look at your notes.
Okay.
Did she send you, before you were able to respond, did she send you some additional messages on my chart, if you remember? Or if you could look at your notes.
Okay.
Find it.
I see the symptoms of depression that she reported.
Yep. So just drawing your attention to 12:58 p.m.
Yes.
You get another message from her where she says the symptoms of depression that are much worse are just feeling completely hopeless and unmotivated to do anything at all. And that she says, I printed the daily mood chart and we'll start it. Now, you said that you did ask your nurse to give her a phone call at some point. And so you're aware that a nurse did call her on November 30th, at approximately 3:10 p.m.
Yes.
And that during that phone call that Lindsay agreed to the plan and that she was going to pick up the Seroquel.
Yes.
Now, at that point, you had another meeting scheduled with her for a week out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
prior to that, did you also continue to communicate with her via my chart?
Yes.
So moving into December
Your lips are
1st,
chapped.
again,
December.
were you able to send her a message?
She sent me a message on December 1st and I did reply to it.
Okay, so December 1st at 12:20 p.m., we have a message from Lindsay CLANCY. Hi, Rebecca. I really don't like the way I feel on the Remeron, and I know that I can't stick with it. Or I can't stick with taking it. I started having very intrusive thoughts that I never had before. I didn't take it last night. I would really like to go back to Julie's original plan of Prozac in the morning and using Ativan and Benadryl at night as a band.
Back to Julie's original plan. So just remember, and the only reason I paused it here is because Julie was the director of this program and was the referral from Patrick Clancy's mom to this program. And then Julie left the program and moved back to New Hampshire, and she was handed off to Nurse Gelada. And so to me, what I'm hearing is that, well, first I'm hearing mania, but I'm also hearing that Lindsay is starting to get nervous about being handed off to this other woman, and she doesn't think this woman's doing the right thing for her. That's what I hear.
Band-Aid until I get to a therapeutic level of Prozac. Please let me know if you agree with this plan. I know that I need to give it a good couple of weeks to work. Is that the message that you first received on December 1st?
It was.
And were you aware that that same day that Lindsay had reached out to her primary care physician asking for an immediate appointment with her nurse practitioner?
I was.
And that she was looking to discuss medications?
Yes.
Do you know if she actually got an appointment or went to the appointment there?
They had reached out to her and she did not respond to their voicemails or my chart messages, so she did not see them that day, to my knowledge.
So you're able to review the notes from the network of South Shore Health, right?
Correct, yes.
So you were able to review that she asked for an emergency appointment. They were able to find her an emergency appointment, but she didn't get back in enough time to actually get there.
Correct.
And so in the meantime, you're having a back and forth with her during the course of that day, December 1st.
Yes.
When she indicated to you in this message on December 1st about having intrusive thoughts and not liking the Remeron and not taking it, what was your response?
I sent her a detailed message of signs and symptoms of postpartum depression and anxiety, including factors like onset, risk factors, predictors, common symptoms. And it highlighted how intrusive thoughts are quite common in postpartum depression and anxiety. And I asked her, I'm wondering if that's what's going on here. I then asked her if she was able to take the Seroquel that night and if she noticed any improvement in terms of sleep or anxiety with the Seroquel.
Now, by giving you this information about postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, was that consistent with a diagnosis that either you or Julie had given her in coming into the clinic?
Yes. We were thinking that this could be some postpartum anxiety. And I wanted to familiarize her with the symptoms so that she had them written down and she could report them to me and understand that they are part of these disorders.
They may be part of the disorders, but they also could be bipolar. And they also could be starting to move into psychosis. And Raginator said this also sounds like a patient who wants to feel better. Yes, like that should be the main concern. This woman is, first of all, she's acting manic in her communications back and forth to her doctors. But it's because she's terrified of what's happening to her. And I'm assuming that what she's told Patrick and what she's telling the doctors is about 25% of what she's actually experiencing. So to her, this is life and death right now. Life and death for her and life and death for her children. And so she's not being heard. And I think at some point she does say she feels like she's not being heard. And we're coming up on the next meeting between Lindsay and Gelada. And this is the one that Patrick comes to. It's on December 6th. So we're coming up on that testimony, which I think is very important. And then we'll get into the cross-examination, which was stellar.
And you also gave her some information about obsessions and compulsions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said you asked her about the Seroquel and asked about sleep, right?
Yes.
And did you also reiterate that you were still encouraging to keep up with the Remeron for a period of time?
Yes.
And you further indicated to her that you wanted to kind of see if there was a correlation between the symptoms and the medication, and you just didn't have enough data.
Right.
In response to that message, she actually responded at 2:36 on December 1st, correct?
Yes.
And she indicated, thank you for the information. It was helpful. That she says, I panicked last night and just took Ativan and Benadryl, but tonight I'll stick with the plan and try the 15 of Remeron and the 25 of Seroquel. Do you recall if you had ever had a conversation with her about kind of using Ativan and Benadryl as a backup, or if she just felt like she wasn't getting any relief?
I recall having a conversation about using the Ativan as a backup. I believe it was, yes, in my initial, I said, continue the Remeron and the Ativan as needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what about the Benadryl?
The Benadryl, I don't recall discussing.
Just being like, yeah, go ahead and continue the Remeron and Ativan as needed. Those are heavy, strong meds. Like, I'm talking from experience here. You guys know this. I've talked about Remeron before. Just being like, use it as needed. And what if it knocks her out the way it knocked me out? Or what if it makes her, she says it's making her feel more anxious. Like, just be like, because she's a nurse, they're just like, you know how to do this. You know how to do this. You know how to do it as needed. Am I reading that wrong? Are you guys feeling that too?
But you were aware that she had reported the combination of Ativan and Benadryl had worked for her before.
Right.
And in that message, she also says, I'm sorry for all the messages. It's just a very scary, stressful time for me. And starting new meds with side effects is very scary to me. I'll check in the morning and let you know how it went, right?
Right.
And again, you continued to have some contact with her on that same day after that.
I believe I responded to that, reassuring her that it's understandable to have fears, concerns about starting medications. And I sent her a detailed description of common question and answers I get from patients about medications, things like what to expect, how long does it take to work, what are common side effects, risks for, is there any risk for suicide, homicide with medications,
So in providing all this information with her, what were you trying to do?
Provide information because she had said it was so scary starting medication. So I wanted her to be equipped with understanding and what to expect possibly.
And based on your interactions with her and your review of Julie Paul's interactions with her, this was a person that was very receptive to taking information, right?
Yes.
And as her role as a nurse, she was not afraid to ask questions. Is that fair?
No. Yes. She was not afraid.
And one of the things that you provided her, or the information you provided her in this detailed response back to her on December 1st at 3:04, was that there are other sources or resources that she could utilize that are available at the clinic, right?
Yes.
And
go ahead.
these two books. 48.
Yep.
Good moms have scary thoughts, and this one, the pregnancy postpartum anxiety.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to skip ahead.
Yes,
to the
I instructed
December
her that.
6th meeting.
Do you recall if that was an in-person or virtual visit?
It was an office visit
Okay.
in person.
And so just kind of looking at the note from that day from December 6th, it says encounter date December 6th. It says filed on December 7th. In the under chief complaint history, do you have it in front of you?
Yes.
The second paragraph says patient has verbally consented to this video visit. Is that just something that sometimes pre-fills into the narrative?
Yes,
But your memory was that this was an in-person visit.
it was.
Was Lindsay Clancy there by herself or with somebody else?
She brought in her husband, Patrick.
Oh, it was
Had you met him before?
I had not.
Had you talked to him before?
I had not.
As part of your treatment plan or your course of treatment with Lindsay Clancy, was it your practice to speak with collateral individuals?
Yes.
And in this instance, did you feel a need to speak to collateral individuals up to this point?
Not up to this point.
If you did, would you have requested that of her?
Yes,
And do you need her express permission to do that?
I do.
Lateral individuals.
So on this particular day, she presented with her husband, Patrick, correct?
Correct.
And was there anything different about your approach to the meeting than your previous meetings with her?
No.
You still go through history, you go through how she's doing now, you do your mental status exam, you do your screenings, right?
Yes.
And so first, just let's talk quickly about the screenings. The Edinburgh screen, what was her score on this day when she came in? Do you remember?
21.
Very high.
And the GAD-7, fair to say that screen was a 19.
Yes.
So would you say
General
that it was pretty
anxiety disorder.
consistent with the last time that you saw her?
Objection. What's the objection? My objection is that that's not right.
Oh,
He's now got a 21 Edinburgh scale. Prior testimony was not anywhere near 21. It's deteriorated.
Well, I'm going to allow that question. On cross-examination, you can certainly explore the basis of what her opinion was. So I'm going to allow that question. Go ahead, Como.
Well, let me ask you about that score of 21. It's 21 out of how much?
30.
So in what range is that?
elevated.
Moderate severe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on your previous encounter with her on or
that
your actual
combo.
telehealth on November 29th, you reported that the score was 17 and that's moderate.
Moderate. Yep.
And then on the GAD-7, on this particular day on December 6th, it was 19, right?
Yes.
And on the previous visit, it was 14.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it's
So
getting
as far
worse.
as your observations of her on December 6th, did you notice anything different about her speech and language?
No.
How about her mood? What did you know her mood to be?
Anxious.
And the affect, fair to say, consistent with mood, meaning anxious, right?
Yes.
And thought process.
Thought process was linear and goal directed.
And thought content. Did she indicate to you whether she was experiencing any auditory or visual hallucinations?
No.
Any delusion?
Whenever they say that her thought process or pattern was linear and goal oriented, the only thing I can think is that, yeah, she was goal oriented to get better and to get the right drugs and to get people to listen to her and to not have anxiety and not have postpartum. And that was her goal. That's the only thing she could focus on. So yeah, she's goal oriented for sure, but she's also fixated and feeling crazy and is frantic. And I just am like, what are we, I feel like every content creator, law tuber, psychiatrist, whoever that is watching this trial, the thing that we're all saying is, what are we doing here? This is crazy. What are we doing here? I heard Peter Trago say that last night. I've never heard him speak that way necessarily, because he's really usually level on both sides. He'll both sides, an argument. But he's listening to this testimony and, he's a layperson as far as medications and treating mental health kind of stuff is concerned. He is a father, so I'm sure he's, experienced whatever postpartum symptoms might have come with his wife giving birth. But his episode last night, he was just like, what are we doing? And I was like, Peter, brother, I feel you. That's what I say for 2 hours, 3 hours a day. What are we doing here?
No.
Any suicidal ideation, a plan or intent?
No.
And as far as your observations of her during this interaction, this in-person visit, did you observe any signs of psychosis?
No.
Did you observe any signs of mania?
No.
Did you observe any signs of obsessive thoughts or compulsive behaviors?
No.
Now, when you met with Lindsay and Patrick on December 6th, did they report why Patrick was there?
I don't recall if they indicated why he was there. I understood it to mean he was there to provide collateral and support for her.
Were you aware that he was coming to the appointment?
I don't recall if I was aware beforehand or not.
And you had engaged in a pretty significant my chart back and forth with her in the days preceding this meeting on December 6th, right?
Yes.
Did she ever indicate to you Did she ever indicate to you in those messages that she wished to bring him along to one of the visits?
No.
Fair to say, when a person brings a collateral and is willing to have somebody speak, you're more than happy to get that information.
Absolutely.
This person, this collateral person, can they offer you a different perspective about the patient and what they're going through or what they're how they're presenting?
Yes.
In this December 6th meeting or the visit, did she report to you some changes in her sleep or significant concern for sleep?
I'd have to review the note. What I remember is that the sleep really hadn't improved much beyond getting a few hours, waking up in the middle of the night, maybe piecing together.
Okay, I just have to say one thing that is housekeeping related. We have 400 people watching this stream right now, but only 35 people on YouTube, which means all of you out in Twitter land, don't forget to go to YouTube and like the video and come into the chat and talk to us. Don't just lurk, come say hello.
Okay.
More time.
And fair to say, there was some conversation to go back and talk about when symptoms started and try to get to kind of the root cause or what they believe the root cause of her symptoms were.
Yes.
And did Lindsay and Patrick report to you the connection with the Zoloft medication in September as a concern?
Yes.
And that at that they reported that, or she reported that exact night I went from 25 to 50 milligrams. I didn't sleep for 48 hours and I wasn't tired.
Yikes.
Correct.
So that's in your note as a quote, meaning that's directly what she told you?
Yes.
Okay. Did you hear what she said? She didn't sleep for 48 hours and she wasn't tired. That is a symptom of being bipolar, not sleeping, but having mania. And this doctor should have known right in that moment that there was something wrong and that a diagnosis needed to happen soon and that she might have needed to reach out to other people and talk to them. When someone doesn't sleep for 48 hours and they're still manic, that's a problem.
Did you express to the CLANCY on this particular meeting?
Hold on, let me go back. Sorry.
Meeting.
D-Cools, why was he there? Her husband? I don't know. Maybe he was her husband. Yes, it's Patrick who was there with her husband, because he was so worried about her, because she hadn't slept for 48 hours. This was back in September, though. And this is a December 6th meeting. And Patrick is starting to get frustrated with these folks and he's starting to voice his concerns. And unfortunately, in this meeting, I think he was so upset about what was going on. And I honestly feel like as a couple, they were both really, really physically fit. They both were like extreme runners and workout and all this. You've heard all that testimony. To me, it feels a lot like Patrick wasn't willing to accept some of these diagnoses because he didn't want to have a wife who needed to rely on medicine. And Lindsay was feeling guilty because she needs to rely on medicine. So anyway, all right.
Did you express to the CLANCY on this particular meeting?
Oh, geez. Oh, God.
Okay.
Is that the prosecutor coughing
did
like
you
that?
express to Ms. CLANCY thoughts that you had about her diagnosis based on your interactions over the last few weeks?
I did.
And what was that?
I discussed with her and her husband the possibility of potentially an underlying bipolar disorder.
Ding, ding, ding.
I based this on several factors, one of them being that she had such what we call an activating response to the Zoloft. It's unusual for somebody to describe taking Zoloft and then going 48 hours without sleep and not being tired. So that raised my clinical suspicion a bit. And she had been, I would say, having difficulty tolerating other antidepressant medications that we had been trying to have her take since then. And so again, I'm wondering if it's because potentially there might be an underlying, what we call mood disorder, bipolar.
Sorry, D-Cools, I didn't catch on. I was just like reading the chat and keeping it moving. But I do appreciate your humor, though. And I appreciate when you disagree with me, because that means we can have a good faith debate. And I appreciate all that. Someone in the chat said they have a lot of questions, but since I'm in the naughty corner, I'll have to ask elsewhere. I don't understand. Who put you in the naughty corner? Was it me? I don't remember doing that. And the only naughty corner we have is a block. And you're not blocked. So I don't know what you're talking about, but if you have questions, ask away, my friend, ask away.
And as far as As far as the information that you had about her past psychiatric history, were there any indicators to you about manic episodes?
No. So I do recall in reviewing Julie's note prior to meeting with Lindsay, she filled out what we call a mood disorder questionnaire. It's like a screener somebody can do to assess history of mania and bipolar disorder. Lindsay it was a negative screen. So there's 3 questions. One question has 13 different symptoms.
3 questions.
You have to score 7 out of 13 on question 1, but also on question 2, it asks about, are the symptoms happening at the same period of time? And then it asks about any functional impairment from the symptoms. So I recall the 3 symptoms she did endorse were not sleeping for that period of time with the Zoloft, not feeling tired, having racing thoughts, and trouble concentrating. None of the other symptoms did she endorse. They did occur at the same period of time. And I don't want to be inaccurate, so I can't remember what she said for functional impairment, but I believe it was minor impairment.
Okay. And so the fact that those were reported, but ultimately the full screen revealed negative for potential mania.
I did also consider, though, that the MDQ is less specific when it comes to bipolar 2 or bipolar not otherwise specified. There's bipolar 1 and bipolar 2. Both have mania symptoms as part of the diagnosis. Bipolar 1 is usually more severe in that it's typically, a patient might be hospitalized or it causes greater functional impairment. Bipolar 2, it's a shorter duration and typically less functional impairment.
And as far as determining diagnostically whether somebody might be presenting with bipolar disorder, is there a particular tool you use in your trade to try to assess that?
Typically something like the MDQ, and then you'll do more of an interview asking the patient about symptoms specifically and if they can ever recall a time where this may have happened in the past, because sometimes patients can't always remember when they're manic. So I was glad to actually have Patrick in the visit because he could sort of help us look at Lindsay's history more longitudinally, or at least since the time he knew her.
Okay. And as far as, so those tools that you're talking about, the MDQ and kind of screening tools that you use in practice, is there another tool that you use to assess whether a person meets particular criteria to be diagnosed with bipolar 1 or bipolar 2?
There are others, not ones that I've used.
So are you familiar with the DSM-5?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So while that's not the end all be all, it is a guide that tells you specific criteria, how to determine if episodes are manic or depressive, right? When it comes to bipolar.
Yes.
The difference between mania and hypomania.
Yes.
And so while you noted that there were some concerns reported, did what was reported to you rise to the level of diagnostic criteria for bipolar disorder?
Not at that time.
And when you explained this to them, your thoughts about her reactions to the medication and these reported prior symptoms, did Patrick and Lindsay seem receptive to your diagnosis?
I recall Patrick saying, "My wife is not bipolar." Lindsay looked at me. She did not say anything.
Okay. And when I heard that, let me know what you guys think by putting a red or a green or a yellow flag in the chat. When I heard that, that was kind of a major red flag for me. My partner, Lindsay, would never say something like that about me in a therapy session. The fact that Patrick is the one who spoke up and said my wife is not bipolar, and that Lindsay didn't have a response to that, that's a red flag to me. And no one speaks for what I am experiencing. And also, you're telling a doctor, you're telling a nurse practitioner who knows more than you about this kind of thing, that, there's a possibility, and you say, my wife is not bipolar. I don't fault Patrick. Let me just be clear. And I don't believe any of the conspiracy theories over on the TikTok that he did this and blamed it on her, because I want to be clear. At no time has Lindsay said she doesn't remember what she did. So if, let's just entertain this stupid conspiracy theory for a second. If it were actually Patrick who did this, or they did it together, he's just moved on and gotten married. Don't you? I mean, I feel like if that were the case, then she would be going after him and blaming him, or they would be against each other. Also, Kevin Reddington, if he thought there was any truth to Patrick being involved, he would be going after that really hardcore, I think. So I don't believe that there's any validity to that. The evidence doesn't show that. And Lindsay has said she knows what she did. She admits to it. So I think we have to sort of dispel that. But in a marriage, when someone is speaking for their spouse like this, and saying, my wife is not bipolar, and the way that sounds to me is that there's like a distaste in your mouth. Like, no, my wife is not bipolar. I don't know what you people are talking about. That's the way I hear it. And then for Lindsay to sit quietly there and not respond. Yeah. I didn't feel great about it. I'm sure it's not helping the conspiracy. Like, it's not helping people look at Patrick differently. The people have been bringing up, oh, he was traveling back and forth to New York, and now he lives in New York, and his new wife is in New York, blah, blah, blah. None of that stuff sticks out to me. Nothing has been said so far in this trial that gives me pause about Patrick, except for this one thing. And this one thing doesn't have anything to do with the actual act that happened, but I think it could have contributed to it. Because again, what I'm seeing, if I'm analyzing these people as human beings, and I'm not a therapist, and I'm not a psychiatrist, and I'm not, I don't do what Sam Beningo does, and I'm not a lawyer, but I am a writer, and I do study people. And I also had a borderline narcissistic mom, which made me have to read people's sort of moods and expressions so I could figure out what was coming next, so I didn't get into trouble. Because of all those things, I study people. That's what I do. And I'm not saying that there's a science to what I do or anything like that. But I'm only saying that because I know that I'm not an expert in anything. But what I feel is that if Patrick was adamantly opposed to medications or adamantly opposed to mental health, anything, as some men are, then he would see it as a weakness in his wife, and it would be embarrassing to him. And if she knows that about him, or maybe she feels the same way, she's probably been hiding a lot of this for a really long time. I listened to a little bit of the testimony that was happening today before I came in here, and they were reading out her messages, and either emails or text messages. I'm not sure, or even posts on Facebook. I'm not really sure, but she talks about having depression after her oldest child was born, and how she was able to just get up and get out and go exercise, and it was fine. She got over it. But I think that there are some men, not all obviously, who think that women should just get over postpartum and get on with it and go exercise, go run a 5K. You'll feel better. Rub dirt on it. You'll feel better. And I fear that was Patrick's philosophy. And I fear that he now knows how wrong he was, because he's had the worst example happen to him. But to me, it feels like Lindsay is only telling us 25% of what's going on with her. She's, well, not us, but she's telling Patrick, and she's telling these doctors 25%. And I think that this is a major red flag. I don't know if the jury's going to pick up on it, but I think that if you're a woman on that jury and you hear, unless you believe in if you're a trad wife, or you believe that the men are always right, or you believe that your husband should speak for you, the women on this jury are going to be like, why did he speak for her, and why did she not answer? That feels awful. It feels gross. I don't like it.
Was this the first time in this meeting on December 6th where you broached that issue or mentioned that?
Yes.
Did the conversation continue about symptoms and managing symptoms after that?
Yes.
Were you able to get any more specific information from Patrick during that meeting? Not what he said particularly, but did you get additional specific information that kind of helped you assess whether you would change your diagnosis at that point?
No.
And were there still concerns in that particular meeting that the focus was trouble sleeping and the potential for addiction?
Let me just pause here. Ray Jenner said it's a bigger red flag that Gelada had bipolar suspicions and did not seriously follow that thread, or that she may have taken Patrick's word for law. Yes, big red flag there. And then someone in the chat said, But is he not supporting Lindsay's view that she is not bipolar? It's not up to Lindsay. That's the problem. If she is presenting as bipolar, then she is going to be diagnosed as bipolar, even whether she wants it or not. That's the problem here, I think, is that these two people were really scared of a bipolar diagnosis. And so they were just like, she's not bipolar. What are you talking about? But they're not doctors. They can't diagnose somebody. And I think that Gelada was probably scared to tell them she's bipolar because of their reaction, what their reaction might be. And I think that's where a lot of this fell apart, honestly. Kitty says, Patrick seems like the kind of waspy guy who wanted to shove everything into his Irish feelings box and couldn't wrap his head around his wife being bipolar. Honestly, that's what it feels like to me too. I mean, maybe not all the Irish feelings box and all that stuff, but I think a lot of men have, and I think men as a group tend to not think about or take care of their mental health. They don't believe that they can show emotion. They don't believe that they can feel a certain way. They certainly don't think they should be going to talk to somebody. I'm not saying all men, obviously. Great. Rainbow Sprite said, for years, my stepdad said my mom just needed Jesus, not antidepressants. No. No, ma'am. Kitty on the Beach said, my husband also thought that because I am a stay-at-home mom, that I had no reason to be depressed or struggling. He didn't really get it. It was defeating. I bet. And I bet Lindsay felt defeated in this moment because she knew, especially in front of Patrick, that if she was starting to realize that she might be bipolar, it was probably one of her biggest fears to have to tell Patrick that might be the case. And I hate that for her.
Yes.
Okay, we're talking about addiction now. Hold on, I need to get to, there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about before we move into the cross. No, let's just go to the cross. Hold on. So Gelada testified that while Lindsay frequently reported feeling, quote unquote, crazy, depressed, numb, hopeless, and having, quote, intrusive thoughts of wanting to die, end quote. Hold on, sorry. I lost my notes for a second. Lindsay consistently denied active suicidal intent, denied a plan, and denied any homicidal ideation or intent toward her children. Gelada stated she observed no overt signs of active psychosis or mania during legal grounds for involuntary Section 12. She did see signs of mania, but she didn't act on those signs. Okay, cross-examination is 148. Let's get to it. Oh, wait, that doesn't make sense. We're in the threes here. Did I skip ahead? If I did not mean to. Maybe I did. Sorry, guys. I know, dead air. Sorry. 148. Maybe this was I in recross?
As far as
We talked about.
No. That's weird. The time code's off. There we go.
Her concerns about.
So that's on December 7th, right?
Sorry, my notes are off with time codes, guys.
In my chart messages.
Give me just a second. Actually, I can put it up. Cross. I love the AI, unfortunately, that YouTube gives us to search out videos. It's pretty great. Let's see. That's not what I want, you guys. Come on, AI. Come on, lesbians. Let's go. Cross examination of Joe Lotta. I look like a lunatic because I'm typing in all caps, but it's just because I have my caps lock on and I'm not doing it. Not taking it off. I'm not doing it. What is this time code? Give me time code, AI. I yell at AI all day. All day. I'm sitting in here just yelling at Gemini, yelling at my AI. Oh, yeah. Okay. The time code wasn't off. No. Jeez. All right. Here we go. Cross-examination time. Let's go, Reddington. Wait, why does it say that it was at 148? Hold on. I'm questioning everything. You guys are sticking with me though, right?
And not liking the
No, that's Buckingham's bow
the
voice.
Seroquel and asked
Okay. All right, I got this. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. 522. Let's do that. Let's do that. Okay, we are on a break. This time code is way off. Why? Okay.
Right?
Correct.
She described for you, as district attorney brought out, what she felt her symptomology was, including suicidal ideation, worrying about suicide, feeling heavy, lethargic, you can't get out of bed, all of that stuff, right? Correct?
Correct.
And one of the things that you had left us with towards the end of your testimony is the fact that you were very willing, if you will, to work in tandem with other providers. In other words, you were concerned about being able to get information from other providers that had been dealing with her, treating her, right?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Did you talk to Tufts?
No.
Did you ever get access to Tufts medical records?
No.
No.
Do you know how many times she saw Dr. Tufts?
I do not.
Would it
No.
surprise you if I told you that she saw Dr. Tufts 14 times in the time frame of October, or the end of September, October, November, December, and then January, 4 months?
Yes.
And that's 14 times plus the 3 that she saw you. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's 17 times that this young lady had access to healthcare providers for her mental health issues, correct?
Correct.
And that would be within a compressed period of time. I know it's the last week, I believe, in September, but October, November, December, and then January, right?
Yes.
And during that period of time, you're aware that she was provided many, many, many prescriptions for antipsychotics, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, benzodiazepines, all of that, right?
I'm aware she was prescribed other medications.
She was what?
Prescribed other medications.
Did you ask what other medications there were?
Yes.
And did she tell you?
Yes.
Did she tell you who prescribed them?
Yes.
It's pretty easy to get a list from CVS, right?
Yes.
And did you have any difficulty determining who was
Hey,
providing the
Elena.
prescriptions for all of these medications?
No.
And did you know that, in fact, it was Jennifer Tufts that prescribed the
No, he's got one of his
September
whiteboards.
15th of 2022. 30 count, 25 milligrams was Jennifer Tufts. You know that?
I did.
You know that Jennifer Tufts on October 21st, 7 count of lorazepam. You know that?
I did.
And
He's
5
whispering.
days later, Jennifer Tufts prescribed on October 26th hydroxyzine, 25 milligrams with a 30 count. Did you know that?
Hydrox.
I did not know that.
Did you know that on the same day, Tufts prescribed 30 count of lorazepam? Did you know that?
I would have known that. Yes.
I was-
Checking the PMP for controlled substances. Yes.
Do you recall that you checked with it?
Yes.
When you download, do you download that information and kind of put it in the file? In the file?
No.
So is this your memory that you believe that you checked with PMP?
I do routinely check the PMP.
You might routinely check, but did you check?
Yes. Yes, I did.
You don't download it, you don't keep it with the medical records, right?
It's a box you can click in the medical record and you can check that you reviewed it.
Okay. Is it in your medical record that you reviewed it?
I'm not sure how it would have gotten printed out. It doesn't like go into my note, but it is a box that I would have
Press the
checked it.
box in the computer?
Yes.
Okay.
Someone in the chat said, was Elsie doctor shopping? I don't think she was. I think she was trying to explain to everybody what was going on, and she was trying to figure out who could actually help her. And I don't mean with drugs or ketamine treatments or anything like that. I think she was bouncing off of all these different practitioners because she wasn't sure that what one was doing was right for her, and so she wanted to get like a second opinion. I don't think she was doctor shopping. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the chat.
October 26th, buspirone, 5 milligrams, 30 count, same day by Tufts. You know that?
Buspirone?
Yeah.
I was not sure that it was Dr. Tufts that had recommended the buspirone.
Okay, so if I suggest to you that the prescriptions that we have in evidence on the chat indicates that on October 26th, Dr. Tufts prescribed a 30 count of buspirone, would that be a refresh your memory, or would you accept that as being a medical history?
I would accept that.
And what is buspirone?
It is a medication used to treat anxiety.
Okay. And lorazepam, what is that?
Benzodiazepine.
And hydroxyzine, what is that?
It is an antihistamine medication.
And lorazepam, again, prescribed on October 21st as well as 26th by Tufts. That's the same thing you just told us what lorazepam is, right?
Benzo.
Yes.
Sertraline, of course, is Prozac. Is that right?
Zoloft.
Oh, wow. Prozac. They're both SSRIs, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So from October 21st up through November 9th, she was prescribed all of this group of drugs until she saw a Kayvon Izadapana, Izadpanah. Do you know who that person is?
They work in the emergency department at social health?
All right. And that would have been on November 16th when she went into the emergency department, right?
Yes.
Prescribed trazodone, 50 milligrams, right?
Yes.
And then she started to consult with your clinic around the 25th of November. That would be around Thanksgiving or so, correct?
Yeah.
November 25?
I believe her first visit with Julia was November 21st.
Okay.
So
What I'm saying is that it was around that time in November that she started to consult with your clinic, correct?
correct.
You know that she was referred to your clinic by her mother-in-law, Pat's mother, who was a labor and delivery nurse.
Yes, I'm aware.
Referred her to Julie Paul, who kind of stepped in for a very short period of time to try to help out, right?
Yes.
And then Julie left, went to New Hampshire to continue her work, and you picked up on November 30th of 22. Is that right?
November 29th.
On November 30th of 22, you wrote a script for quetiapine, 30 count. Is that right?
Yes.
And what is quetiapine?
Seroquel.
You also, a week later, wrote a script for diazepam, 5 milligrams. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then the next day, you wrote a script for, December 6th, you wrote a script for diazepam, 5 milligrams, right?
Correct.
December 7th, you wrote a script for diazepam, 5 milligrams, right?
Correct.
December 7th, again, you wrote a script for quetiapine, 30 count, right?
I would need to check my.
You can look at anything you want. If
Okay.
you have your records, feel free, please.
Okay. You said this.
Yeah, it would be December 7th. I'm looking at quetiapine, 30 count of 100 milligrams.
We had a pee. So he's just going to get through.
I don't believe it was a 30 count.
He's just going through all the meds that she was prescribed, which we already know. And then, let's see. Hold on. Okay. These are some of her notes that I wanted to get into.
As a woman who has recently had a baby or is within that postpartum range of time and presents with the symptomology that she presented, is that something that would give you cause for concern? Suicidal ideation?
I in no way want to minimize what Lindsay experienced, but it's common for us to treat
It's common to treat women in that
Yes.
fashion that are
that are
postpartum?
postpartum who may have suicide. Oh,
Keeps cutting off the witness before she gives an answer. May she complete her answer?
Sure. As I've said before, let's only talk one at a time. You finish your answer and then we'll go to the question.
Go ahead.
her symptoms were serious, and it's not uncommon for me to treat women with serious symptoms in the postpartum period.
Okay. 2 days later, you prescribed 8 count 5 milligrams of diazepam. Is that right?
2 days from December 7th?
Yeah, it was December 9th.
December 9th.
Non-conversational said, Mel, serious question. Do you think Gelada purposely over-medicated Elsie? No, I do not. I think that they were all overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed by this patient. They weren't sure what to do with her, and they were probably overwhelmed in their day-to-day dealing with hundreds of other patients as well. And I think that she was trying to build a relationship so that Lindsay would trust her, so that, you know, because it seemed like, I think it seemed like Lindsay didn't trust her because she had been handed off from Julie. And I think that Gelada was walking a fine line here. She was starting to realize that she had someone on her hands that was probably manic, probably bipolar, and who did not want to hear that diagnosis. So it's it's a very scary fine line that she's got to walk. Plus you've got someone who is presenting as if they understand what all these drugs are and what the drugs do to them. And so, you know, you're having these in-depth conversations with them about what drugs they're on and why that's not working and what you should do next. And I just think that she was overwhelmed. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but it seems to me like she was just overwhelmed. We currently have, I just want to say, we have almost 500 people watching the stream, but only 65 of you are on YouTube. So all of you guys on Twitter, don't forget to come over here and like the video. And don't forget to say hello and get involved in the chat. We want to hear from you.
Yes.
4 days later, you prescribed more diazepam. Is that correct? December 13th?
Correct. That would have been 2 milligrams.
Yes. And then jump ahead to December 19th, you prescribed 14 count 2 milligrams of diazepam. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then December 19th, you prescribed 300 milligrams of quetiapine, 30 count, right?
Correct.
And that was on December 19th. 3 days later, on December 21st, you prescribed additional quetiapine, 100 milligrams, 14 count, right?
Correct.
And then 1 day later, you prescribed more quetiapine, 25 milligrams of 14 count, right?
Correct.
As far as your prescriptions continued on, if you can jump ahead, you continued to treat her. And on January 13th, you prescribed 2 milligrams of diazepam, 7 count, right? That would be on January 13th.
I did not prescribe that on January 13th.
All right. If I suggest to you that Rebecca Gelada has a script for January 13th of diazepam, that doesn't refresh your memory?
Would it have been a script that I had sent previously that hadn't been filled at the original date?
Well, I believe the records would indicate that. We'll make a note of it. January 13th, diazepam. How about January 16th? Do you recall prescribing diazepam to her, 2 milligrams, 3 count?
A
No.
lot of benzos.
Diazepam on the 19th of January, 2 milligrams, 14 count.
No.
No? So you're not able to prescribe medications, or somebody else can't use your name, right?
Right.
And you have the DEA license to prescribe medications, correct?
Correct.
Now, one of the things that you went through was a lot of, obviously, it's a little confusing with the names of the various drugs. And the district attorney said to you blithely, she said, well, she's a nurse, so she knows what those drug names mean. Do you recall that question?
There it is.
I do.
Yeah. And you just said, yeah, right?
Mhm.
So you're assuming that a woman who gets her RN at the age of 24 in a 1-year program and then works for 7 years as a labor and delivery nurse is familiar with these names and what they are, what drugs they are?
She seemed to be familiar with them. Yes, she understood.
Did you know that she was Googling 60, 70, 100 times a night what benzodiazepines are, what Seroquel is, what all of these medications are?
I did not know that.
Did you ever ask her where she acquired what appeared to be, apparently to you, her ability to know what these medications are?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Well, you wouldn't know the medications that a labor and delivery nurse uses when they're helping a woman who's giving birth, would you?
Not necessarily.
Okay. In any event, one of the things that you left us with is the fact that you were very, I think the word was invested in Lindsay Clancy and were concerned about her treatment, right?
Correct.
You knew that she had gone to the Rhode Island program for Women and Infants Center, Behavioral Health Day Program in Providence, Rhode Island. You knew that, right?
I did.
And you basically gave her the referral. You didn't make the referral. I think it was Latasha Dukes that might have done that.
Correct.
So you were aware of the fact that a recommendation was made to Lindsay that she reach out to someone else for help, right?
Lindsay made me aware of that, yes.
And she needed help, didn't she?
Yes,
And she went to Women's and Infants Hospital on December 20th, right?
she did.
And was she treated at Women and Infants?
I don't believe so.
Why not?
Wow.
I wouldn't want to speculate or assume, but it seemed to be her intake appointment.
For what?
Her intake appointment?
Okay. So without assuming or speculating, you referred her to this provider, right?
Yes.
So you have this woman who you know has been seeing Dr. Tufts, a psychiatrist, right?
Right.
You knew that. You didn't get access to Tufts records. You didn't know what Tufts was doing, but you knew that for a period of time before she saw you, she was dealing with a psychiatrist, right?
Yes.
You knew that she was a woman who had just given birth like 5 months ago, right?
Yes.
You knew that she was obviously in trouble. She was sick, right?
Yes.
You told us that she was suffering from, and your words were, a mental health illness that was very real. And you told her that this will get better. And that was in December of 2022.
Yes.
So when you referred her needing help to this Women's and Infants program in Rhode Island, and she went because that's what she was told to do, what happened at Women and Infants program?
I can't speak to what happened at Women and Infants
Why not?
because I was not a part of that assessment.
What does that mean?
I did not see the assessment and I did not speak with Dr.
What
Diaz.
could be more
What?
egregious?
Lindsay had informed me that she was going to be at the program for 2 weeks.
She was hoping to be at the program for 2 weeks, right?
She told me she was going to be at the program for 2 weeks.
But she was turned away after about 8 hours of sitting there in an assessment and sitting in a group session.
Here it comes.
And she was turned away because of their concern that she was suffering from, well, let me ask you, what was their diagnosis?
I'm not sure.
Did you ever find out?
I have not.
Does it matter to you as a treating person that I think your words were is invested in Lindsay Clancy's care at that time? Did it matter to you why she didn't get accepted into the program?
It did.
Why was it?
I do not know their diagnosis.
Did you know that she had been diagnosed? You have different diagnoses, right? Like general anxiety disorder or general anxiety, GAD. And then you have, is it a differential? Is that what it's called?
Mhm.
What is that?
Yes. It means a differential in medicine could be patient comes in with a cough. What are your differentials? Differential might be bronchitis, pneumonia, strep throat. So it's different things, different diagnoses you consider.
Did you know that, in fact, they wouldn't accept her into the postpartum program because of their concern that she had been overmedicated by drugs and they wanted to find out?
Boom.
I can't speak to that.
Did you know that she was diagnosed as depression due to adverse drug effects?
Boom.
I cannot speak to that.
Do you know, invested as you were, that on December 20th, the very same day that she had finished being evaluated, woman you were invested in, had been evaluated by Dr. Diaz that you recommended or you mentioned, that in fact, looking at the exhibit, that they recommended tapering Seroquel, starting 200 milligrams tonight, follow up with outpatient provider of note. We attempted to reach current outpatient provider Rebecca Gelada, but did not receive a call back.
Ooh.
I never received a call from Women and Infants.
Oh,
So this
damn.
medical record from Women and Infants saying that they called Rebecca Gelada.
Did you guys hear that? Women and Infants reached out to Gelada. She's saying she never got the call. Is this like a Jen McCabe calling Nicole situation all over again? What?
Patient provider Rebecca Gelada, but did not receive a call back.
I never received a call from Women and Infants.
So this medical record from Women and Infants saying that they called Rebecca Gelada and never got a call back. Your memory is that they never called you?
They never called me. I absolutely would have called them back.
Okay. Well, regardless, you never talked to anybody from Women and Infants, did you? Whether they called you or whether you reached out to them being invested.
I did not. I know
Being
our program
invested.
re-referred her a few days later.
I'm going to offer this now. You want to, I think, just
It's already in it.
We might, yeah, we'll keep it as an exhibit for identification. You can double check, make sure the pages have been.
Already in evidence. God, they're so bitchy. Okay, there is this moment. Let's see. So on redirect, Buckingham Bowhead gets up and says that, asked if Gelada's prescriptions ended on December 22nd, which was a month before the unaliving. And she reconfirmed that Lindsay never voiced a plan or intent to harm herself or her children, and that she showed no signs of active postpartum psychosis during her care. Just a little bit manic, just a little bipolar, but nothing too crazy. And then Reddington gets back up and he does some Reddington type of things. Hold on, get the time code. 646. 646. So this is the recross, the end of the day. Very end of the day.
Well, it appears as though she was, doesn't it?
Objection from postpartum.
This was only a second. So just listen carefully.
Did you contract for safety?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means assessing immediate safety.
Let me back it up a little bit. Some of these questions were interesting.
The titrating of Seroquel became a conversation. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And when you, after the Women and Infants program on December 20th, you didn't see Lindsay Clancy again in the clinic, did you? Either telehealth or in person?
No.
And the only contact you had with her was through the messages about the plan for tapering, correct?
Correct.
And while you were going to be away and not available to her, you still gave her a plan and a prescription to assist with tapering, didn't you?
I did.
Was your clinic or your colleague still available for her if she needed it?
Yes.
Did she reach out?
I believe that either she or Patrick did reach out on December 30th.
And that was for a higher level of care recommendations, right?
Correct.
But as far as issues with the taper, did she reach out to you or your colleagues about issues with the taper?
No.
Now, counsel went through with you a call in which Patrick and Lindsay, or Lindsay, indicated to you that she was having panic symptoms and intrusive thoughts. Do you recall that?
Yes.
In that call, did you contract for safety?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means assessing immediate safety. For example, not to speak in hypothetical, but if somebody was saying, I have a plan to kill myself, I have a knife, I am calling 911, I am sectioning that person. If somebody's saying, I'm having thoughts of suicide, okay, what are they? Do you have a plan? Do you have intent? What I recall from Lindsay, she was having thoughts of suicide. She did not disclose a plan, no intent, and her husband was aware of this as well. He was on the call.
In fact, in any of the times that you met with or had messages with Lindsay Clancy and she talked about intrusive thoughts or suicidal thoughts, did she ever articulate that she ever had a plan?
No.
Or that she ever actually had any intent of completing the act?
No.
And you're aware that she did have support in the way of her husband and her family, didn't you?
I was aware of that.
And again, intrusive thoughts, when a person tells you, a postpartum mom tells you they're having intrusive thoughts in your training experience, in the times that you've treated moms with postpartum depression or anxiety or even psychosis, that's a fairly common complaint, right?
Yes.
And again, depressed and unmotivated, fairly common to hear those from new moms.
Yes.
And
This was
in your experience
level.
in treating individuals with postpartum psychosis, whether they hear voices or not, did you ever have any concerns based on your contact with Lindsay CLANCY that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis?
I did not.
Listen.
Nothing further.
Well, it appears as though she was, doesn't it?
Objection.
Hold on. Why don't we do this? Why don't you get over there, Mr. Rankin, if you can, go ahead, ask your question.
I'll withdraw it.
All right. Anything further?
Did you guys catch it? So basically, you know, Reddington has this tendency to, as soon as the prosecution is like nothing further, he's already standing up. He's already asking a question. He doesn't wait for the judge to be like, okay, defense attorney Reddington, you know, do you have any kind of recross? He just gets up and he does it. And I love that about him. So this is what he does.
Concerns based on your contact with Lindsay CLANCY that she was suffering from postpartum psychosis?
I did not.
Nothing further.
Well, it appears as though she was, doesn't it?
Well, it appears as though she was, doesn't it? Oh, hindsight. Yeah, probably. And then, of course, the prosecution's like, objection.
Objection.
Hold on.
And then the judge is like, all right, go ahead and ask your question. He's like, withdraw it. But he got in front of the jury. So that was really important. All right. So that was day 11. We are going to move into day 12. Now, what I want to say about this, actually, what I want to do is take a very quick break because I have to use the bathroom. So let me put something on. Why don't we watch the intro to Sam's show last night? And so you guys can get a glimpse of what I'm talking about. And if you don't know Sam's content, this will help you out. Sam Beningo. Took me forever to figure out how to pronounce her last name because I'm a dummy. God, my eye won't stop watering. Her show is called I Don't Belong Here with Sam Beningo. And she, let's see, is this Monday? Yeah, I think this was, maybe it wasn't. Hold on. Yeah, this one. So I'm going to, okay, so I want you, since we just watched Gelada's testimony, God, I want you guys to see Sam's coverage of this last night. And even just the beginning, I think will be helpful to hear and watch. So watch this for a minute while I run and take a quick break. I will be back in about 5 minutes. I need to grab something to drink to do also. Where is Mel? That looks like a closet. This is my podcast studio. I have a little she shed in the garage. Mom's leaving us unsupervised. I will be right back. You guys be good. Hey, Megan, I'm so glad you're here for your first live. I am going to take a break real quick. Lady Harlot is in the house, everybody. Okay. Be right back, guys. Give me 5 minutes, okay?
One of the things that you went through was a lot of, obviously, it's a little confusing with the names of the various drugs. And the district attorney said to you blithely, she said, well, she's a nurse, so she knows what those drug names mean. Do you recall that question?
I do.
Yeah. And you just said, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're assuming that a woman who gets her RN at the age of 24 in a one-year program and then works for 7 years as a labor and delivery nurse is familiar with these names and what they are, what drugs they are?
She seemed to be familiar with them. Yes, she understood.
Right. Did you know that she was Googling 60, 70, 100 times a night what benzodiazepines are, what Seroquel is, what all of these medications are?
I did not know that.
She's showing up with incredible levels of anxiety. This is a medical professional who thinks that if you take the smallest dose of Ativan that is prescribable in medicine for a week, oh my God, I'm going to be addicted. I need to go into the hospital, check myself in so I can get off of it. I'm not making fun. This is what's going on. This is a medical professional.
These proceedings are here to see that justice is done. And justice is, as any reasonable person would tell you, the finding of the truth. Only we have a problem here.
I see danger in us. They know we'll burn down tonight. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna let it out.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the I Don't Belong Here show, and I am your host, Samantha Beningo. And today we are talking Lindsay Clancy.
Person comes to your clinic as a woman who has recently had a baby or is within that postpartum range of time and presents with the symptomology that she presented, is that something that would give you cause for concern? Suicidal ideation?
I in no way want to minimize what Lindsay experienced, but it's common for us to treat.
It's common to treat women in that
Yes.
fashion that are
That are
postpartum?
Postpartum who may have suicide. Oh,
Keeps cutting off the witness before she gives an answer. May she complete her answer?
Sure. As I've said before, let's only talk one at a time. You finish your answer and then we'll go to the question.
Go ahead.
her symptoms were serious, and it's not uncommon for me to treat women with serious symptoms in the postpartum period.
For the lay person, you might look at what's happening here with Nurse Gelada, and you might think, well, how could she be changing and writing all these prescriptions 2 days later, 1 day later, 3 days later?
2 days later, you prescribed 8 count 5 milligrams of diazepam. Is that right?
2 days from December 7th?
Yeah, it was December 9th.
December 9th. Yes.
4 days later, you prescribed more diazepam. Is that correct? December 13th?
Correct. That would have been 2 milligrams?
Yes. And then jump ahead to December 19th, you prescribed 14 count 2 milligrams of diazepam. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then December 19th, you prescribed 300 milligrams of quetiapine, 30 count, right?
Correct.
And that was on December 19th. 3 days later, on December 21st, you prescribed additional quetiapine, 100 milligrams, 14 count, right?
Correct.
And then 1 day later, you prescribed more quetiapine, 25 milligrams of 14 count, right?
Correct.
As far as your prescriptions continued on, if we can jump ahead, you continued to treat her. And on January 13th, you prescribed 2 milligrams of diazepam, 7 count, right? That would be on January 13th?
I did not prescribe that on January 13th.
All right.
That might look irresponsible. But when we take a step back and consider the entirety of the situation, actually, it's Nurse Gelada that, number one, is the most qualified to treat symptoms of postpartum mental health. Okay? So she's the one that actually sees the situation, in my opinion, the most clearly, and is really trying to work with Lindsay on an outpatient basis to treat her symptoms while also clinically developing trust with her, trying to honor her concerns, because Lindsay is losing her mind.
So in this
Okay, so that was a little introduction to Sam. If you don't know Sam, she's going to be on the show on Saturday, and that's not what I want. That's not what I want. I'm really excited to have Sam on. She has a lot of experience with this, and she can hopefully clear some things up for us. So don't make sure you don't miss it. 5 p.m. on Saturday. The thumbnail will be out today, so you guys can click that notify me button, and hopefully it works for you, because sometimes it doesn't. Which, YouTube, get your shit together. Okay, here's what we're going to do. This is day 12. Day 12 was a lot. You guys know this. I'm not going to go through the testimony. Just to be clear, we're doing trauma-free recaps here. So I'm not going to go through testimony that details anything that has to do with the children. I'm Hey, Deidre, you're hot. So let's see. We already did the Emily Thorndike stuff. Is this right? Yes. Okay. Sorry, I have to grab my notes. So we're gonna get. So there's gonna be some. There are going to be a couple of witnesses on the list. And the first one that we start off with is Detective Sergeant Daniel Lawler. This is another MSP. He's in the DA's detective unit. Buckingham questions him, and she literally has these people on the stand for like a couple of minutes, and then they're done. It's just a total waste of time. We've already gone over this stuff. We've already established this stuff. Daniel Lawler responded to South Shore Hospital on the night that Lindsay was brought in and this happened. And he basically served a preservation notice on hospital staff that would freeze Lindsay's blood and urine samples. He also collected the clothing that they had cut off from her body, which was a jeans, a bra, and a tank top, and her wedding ring. He confirmed that visible blood stains were present on her clothing. And he basically he was the like primary evidence officer during the early morning search of 47 Summer Street, which is where this happened. They went through the pill bottle inventory again, again. But there was some interesting testimony that we need to go over, because one of the things that the prosecution is trying to do in this case is they're trying to say that Lindsay Clancy made up hearing the voices, hearing this command voice telling her to unalive herself and her children. And they're saying that she made it up after she did this. And they're saying that Reddington's own expert doctor, Dr. Zeisel, who will testify later when the defense puts on their case, he finally was able to get a court order to allow himself and Zeisel to go in, but he didn't go in with Zeisel. And on the direct of this examination, they established that she was being guarded, heavily guarded, even though she was paralyzed from the waist down and was intubated and was chained to a hospital bed. And he, kind of made his snarky remarks about, oh, so you were guarding a woman who was paralyzed and chained to a hospital bed. And he's like, yep, that was my job. And so, but the important part about the cross-examination is what Reddington gets into about the voices theory. And this I found very interesting. And so I want to play this moment for you. This doesn't have anything to do with the children. This is all about Lindsay after she suffered her injuries and she is in the hospital. So we're going to play this moment right here. Hold on, I got to put it on the screen. Get your shit together, Mel. Okay. And we're back on the screen. Okay, here we go.
So on the first time you got involved with this case was on the evening of, was it the 24th or 23rd?
Tuesday.
I
think it was the 24th.
Okay. And do you recall what time it was that you went there?
To South Shore Hospital?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Approximately 7:30 p.m.
Now, at that point, you had known, obviously, that this was a major investigation involving the death of 2 children and 1 serious injury to another child. Is that correct?
Correct.
The media was absolutely insane all over the location of the house and in the hospitals and everywhere. Isn't that right?
I recall media at the house. I'm not sure what the hospital stuff.
Okay. It was a fairly horrific and largely attended to, if you will, event. Is that correct?
Yes.
And Lindsay was, when you went to the South Shore Hospital, that's where you saw her before she was transferred to the Brigham and Women's, right?
Yes.
When you went in to see her at the South Shore Hospital, she was in the emergency room, right?
Yes.
Would you agree with me that she was pretty well, she had the intubation tube in her mouth, she had tape on her face, she had her arms all taped up and wires and tubes and everything else, right?
Yes.
And it was a very confusing and quite frankly shocking sight to walk into that room and see her there in that condition, right?
Yes.
And you, about your duty, collected clothing and her wedding band, correct?
Yes.
And you went through all that with the items you seized, and you introduced those into evidence and noted what the government said appears to be stains. It was blood on her clothing. Is that right?
I would say,
Yeah. In your experience?
Yes.
Okay. Any shoes? Did she have any shoes, sneakers, slippers, anything like that?
I don't recall shoes. I think 2 black socks. I don't recall shoes.
Right. If there were shoes on her person or brought to the hospital, the odds are that when they saved the clothing, they would have saved the shoes as well, right?
Yes.
So you took the clothing, and then you went to the Boston Children's Hospital, right?
Yes.
And after you left the Boston Children's Hospital, you went back to the house and then assisted in the search of the property with a search warrant?
Yes.
And were you the lead investigator at that point, or were you one of the guys just searching?
I was not the lead investigator.
But there was a court order, search warrant, right?
Yes.
And you, meaning collectively you, knew that you had a search warrant that authorized a search for a number of items, including medications or pills or pill bottles, right?
Yes.
I don't have to grab this and ask if you saw this. You never did see that, did you?
I did not recall seeing that, sir.
You don't know what, if anything, was inside that item, right?
I don't know.
And counsel asked you whether or not it's a collaborative effort on the part of the detective units and that you all collaborate and work together. Can you explain that? Do you report to each other? Do you keep each other advised as to what you get for evidence?
Yeah. So when we go into a house, we're not familiar with the layout. We'll walk the house and figure out where bedrooms are located. And then essentially we kind of just break up into teams, if you will, and search the residence. As evidence is located, and at that time, as the evidence officer, I would be alerted that, hey, there's evidence here. We're going to document and collect it.
Okay. And you videotape the scene and you take photographs of the areas of different rooms, right?
I do not, but crime scene does.
But you were in the house and you were able to observe the rooms. You could see all sorts of wall hangings and paintings and fingerprints and handprints and all that stuff on the wall, right?
Yes.
Downstairs, you saw in the basement, or the finished basement, that there was an area that was an office, or appeared to be an office. Is that correct?
I don't recall the exact layout of the basement.
Do you remember that items were seized from the basement, like a Mac Pro laptop, something like I have right here? There were 2 of them that were seized. Remember that?
Yes.
And from your investigation, you're aware that those would have been Pat Clancy's laptops, his business and personal laptop, correct?
At the time, I'm not sure who the laptops belong to, but I know they were collected.
Okay. And how about Lindsay Clancy's, her cell phone? Was that seized, if you know?
I believe that was seized from the master bedroom.
From the master bedroom. And do you remember, was it located on the bed?
There was a phone located on the bed. I think there was another phone located in a dresser drawer. I'm not sure which phone was what, though.
All right. So both of those phones, regardless which one was what, did either one of them have blood on them?
I don't recall.
But if you guys were seizing the items in the property, such as the cell phone that had blood on it in your experience, you probably would have remembered that, right?
Correct.
And you don't remember that?
I don't.
Okay. You did notice a lot of blood on the floor and on the walls, on the mirror and the window ledge and that area. Is that fair?
I recall blood on the floor, by the mirror, and then blood on the floor going towards that back right window.
Okay. At no time did you ever come across or discover a, what do you call it, an Apple Watch, right?
No, sir.
And after you all concluded your search of the home, and how long did that take? A couple of hours?
Probably. I don't recall the exact time we concluded.
Okay. The next thing you did was to go to the Brigham and Women's Hospital. Was that right?
After the search warrant?
Yeah, she'd ask you a question about Brigham and Women's. I mean, did you do something else in between? I don't know.
I don't recall exactly what I did after the search warrant, but at some point I did go to the Brigham.
Okay. Can you tell us when you went to the Brigham?
I don't recall the exact date.
So whatever date you went to the Brigham, you went there for what purpose?
She would transfer it to that facility, and it was to maintain custody of her at that point.
So you were going to maintain custody of her?
So the sheriffs, I believe, had custody of her, and then our unit was tasked to facilitate providing coverage over the next couple of days.
Right. And she was actually in the bed with all, again, tubes and all sorts of things coming out of her body when you saw her, right?
Yeah, she was in the hospital bed.
And she was in like an emergency room. It was a little small room with a lot of machines in it that took up a lot of space, right?
I don't think she was in the emergency room. She was in one of the floors.
One of the floor rooms, but it was an intensive care unit, right?
I believe it could have been the surgical intensive care unit.
Surgical intensive care. And when you went there to facilitate custody, who were you facilitating custody for? The DA's office?
Yes, essentially.
Okay. And whatever, do you remember how many days? Was it like 2 days, a week, 2 weeks after the incident that brought you to the house in Duxbury? Do you recall how long it was before you went to the hospital to maintain custody, facilitate?
I don't recall how many days, maybe 2 or 3. I'm not sure the exact count.
All right. So she had been transferred out of South Shore Hospital. She was transferred to Brigham and Women's Hospital. You went to Brigham and Women's Hospital. I imagine you had to go through security to get in there, right? Well, you're dead, right?
At some point, yeah, we were probably assisted with security to get there.
Well, you know that nobody could get access to Lindsay Clancy in that hospital, and I mean nobody, right?
Correct.
Here it comes.
And this went on for day after day after day, to your knowledge, facilitating, right?
Correct.
Her parents couldn't get in to see her, correct?
I don't believe so.
She had an attorney that had difficulty, not me, but another guy that had difficulty getting in to see her. Isn't that right?
I'm not aware of that difficulty.
I had to get a court order to get a doctor in there to see her, didn't I?
Yes, it was a court order.
And when I got the court order, a doctor came in and met with Lindsay pursuant to that judge's order, and that was Paul Zeisel, correct?
I believe that's the name. I'm not sure if he was a doctor, but I believe that was a gentleman that came in the court order.
He was a
Okay, it's
doctor.
only because in your direct you said that he was not a doctor, but he was a psychiatrist. So I mean, it's just you knew that he had something to do with head doctor, psychiatrist, psychologist, something like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Head doctor.
Did he have to clear it with you to get into the room?
He checked in with myself and the other trooper. We were advised that he was coming in to let him in on the court order.
All right,
Hey,
now, I wasn't there on that
Harvard
occasion, right?
No.
And when Dr. Zeisel or whoever it was went into the room to see her, it's your memory that he was allowed to shut the door. Is that correct?
I believe he shut the door.
Now you were involved in this investigation pretty intensely, working with the DA's office, right?
Correct.
Isn't it fair to say that one of the contentions of the district attorneys is that Paul Zeisel, my doctor, I got a court order to get in to see her, told her to call Pat and tell him that she heard voices?
My doctor.
I see counsel sidebar in regards to this.
Jeez. So I don't know if you guys heard what he said, but basically he said one of the prosecution's theories is that my doctor got in and concocted this plan for Lindsay to say that she had heard voices. And the prosecution objects, and then they go to sidebar, and they're going to come back here in a second. Let me just get ahead a little bit. Hold on, please.
All right, so members of the jury, like I said, I think a couple of weeks ago, sometimes I got to talk to lawyers for a little bit longer than it takes over here at the sidebar. So,
all right, so then we're gonna break, and he's not gonna let us hear this. So they're gonna break and have more sidebar, and then we'll come back.
all right, so counsel, what we're going to do is we'll have, just so the record's clear, the jury's out of the room at this point. We will just conduct a short voir dire.
They're gonna do a voir dire of the
on the
witness.
issue that we talked about over at sidebar. So I'll allow.
This is fascinating to me that we're doing a voir dire in the middle here, because they're trying to establish what this guy knew about the prosecution's theory. That's the whole reason we're doing a voir dire of the witness. So yeah, this is interesting. It doesn't really go far, but I think Reddington does the job that he needs to do to shut this stupid theory down.
Mr. Reddington to ask questions at this point, and then I'll allow Commonwealth to also ask questions. Go ahead, counsel.
Okay, thank you. So you're in the hospital at Brigham and Women's, correct?
Yes.
And when you're there, with the purpose of obviously with other law officers to enforce the fact that she's in custody, Dr. Zeisel, or a doctor, came in pursuant to a court order, right?
Yes.
All right. And obviously had been cleared through security and went into the room where Lindsay was laying on the bed, right?
Yes.
You don't know, or you don't recall if he closed the door or if he kept the door open or if it was half open. You just don't remember, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would you agree with me that in the course of preparing this case for trial, that you have worked and collaborated with the prosecutors, the two district attorneys, correct?
Yes.
And you guys would talk about theories of the case and evidence that they want you to run down perhaps as an investigator or try to obtain, or interviews and things of that nature, right?
Yes.
And one of the theories that they had indicated to you is that Patrick CLANCY had indicated to the investigators and to the grand jury, I believe, that Lindsay called him from the hospital, right?
I recall that.
And that Lindsay used that doctor's cell phone to call him from the hospital, right?
Dr. Zeisel.
And they basically had a theory that they wanted to run with, that Zeisel told her, Lindsay, to say that she heard voices, right?
I don't know if it's a theory or not. I just recall that conversation at some point.
Okay, so when was the conversation?
I don't recall exactly when.
You remember where the conversation was?
No.
You know, okay.
I'm assuming at the office. I just don't recall specifically when.
And who was it you were talking to?
Probably could have been one of the troopers in the office working the case.
Probably
One of the
could have been.
troopers. Is it McGilligan?
Probably he's the case officer, so I imagine it probably wouldn't have been him, sir.
Probably could have been him.
Yep.
How about any of the prosecutors? You talked to the DAs about that?
I don't recall specifically speaking to a prosecutor about this.
Well, how about not necessarily specifically, but do you have any memory of talking to the prosecutor about, quote, this, end quote?
No.
So what is it that your memory is that the trooper, whoever it may have been, or the investigator for the state police may have been, what did that person tell you?
That at some point when Lindsay was in the hospital with the doctor and the court order, that she made a phone call to Patrick and they discussed circumstances of the case, and then he was interviewed later on and communicated his phone call to, I believe, Trooper McGilligan. And
what did McGilligan tell you about the conversation? What the theory or the understanding was that
during the conversation, Lindsay communicated to Patrick that she had heard voices in her head.
And there was also the conversation regarding the psychologist is basically the one that planted that idea in her head, right?
The conversation between Trooper McGilligan and I?
Yeah.
I don't recall that specifically. I just recall the facts are communicated to me that there was a phone call between Lindsay and Patrick.
Okay, you already said that. I know, and I apologize. I don't mean to cut you off, but let's cut to the chase.
Yeah.
What I'm asking you are voices. You know what that means when someone hears voices, right?
Yes.
You may not hear voices. I may not hear voices, but some people might hear voices, right?
Yeah.
That was discussed with McElligott, wasn't it?
Yes.
And what is it that he discussed with you about Lindsay hearing voices?
That's what she had told Patrick on the phone call, that she heard voices.
And when she told Patrick that she heard that on the phone call, the prosecution determined that it was Zell, or whoever that doctor was, you don't recall, that told her to say that for some type of a defense, right?
I don't know what the prosecution determined. All I can say, that's what I recall the conversation between Lindsay and Patrick.
Okay. About when
the voices.
The voices.
I don't know why this
and
guy
the conversation also included the fact that it was the psychologist that planted that idea in her mind. That's the theory, isn't it?
That would be the theory, but I don't recall having.
Okay, so what I was about to say is I don't know why this guy is like so hesitant to say what he just said, which is that would be the theory. The prosecution came up with this theory because they needed something to run with. It's ludicrous. Dr. Zeisel is really well known. Here, I'll pull him up. Reddington. Zeisel. Okay. He's very, very well known. And I just need to find his page here. Dr. Zeisel. I think it's this Jeffrey. Yeah, this is the guy. Oh, maybe not. He's a social worker. Just kidding. Oh my God, why can't I find it? Okay, here we go. This is a really old video, but basically he has worked with vets who have experienced extreme, like complex PTSD for being in war. And he was on this podcast. He's an older guy. I'm sure that he and Kevin get along really well. And go.
Again, it's awesome.
It is, and to see you doing so well. So typically I ask my guests first to tell me a bit about their training and background.
Okay, so very briefly, my background is I grew up in Queens, New York, like Donald Trump. Went to Queens College. That's the differences extend from there. There's no similarities after that point. Went to college there and moved to Boston to go to graduate school, and attended BU and Harvard and what is now William James College, where I got my PsyD. And you and I trained together in the early 80s with a very prestigious practice in Back Bay on Newbury Street, led by Joel Becker, who's a famous psychologist in Boston. And then we got licensed, then we moved on. And I do a lot of clinical work, and I do a lot of forensic work now, working for the courts, getting retained by private attorneys, doing murder cases, criminal responsibility, competency hearings, that sort of thing.
And in reading about you to prepare for today and what's gone on in the last 30 plus years, you did start out working with sexual offenders back in the day.
That's right. I was hired by the district attorney's office to do evaluations of dangerousness. And back in those days, the research is back in the 80s wasn't as robust as it is today. So we really know that much, but
have a pretty good idea of who this guy is. Now, just from watching that video, do you guys think that he told Lindsay to say that she was hearing voices? It's just ludicrous what these prosecutors are doing and what they're trying to sell to the jury because they don't have a case, in my opinion. Legal Tubes, thanks for stopping in to say hi. Totally understand if this is too much for you to handle, but I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to like the video though, because that helps us. Legal Tube says, I love that you're giving the PTSD doctor the accolades he deserves. Yes. I mean, he's a well-known doctor, and they had to get a court order for him to get in to see Lindsay. And these two women prosecutors decided that when Lindsay, Dr. Zeisel gave Lindsay his phone so that she could call Patrick. She hadn't been able to talk to anyone in her family. She hasn't been able to see anyone in her family. She hasn't been able to talk to Patrick. So she calls Patrick and tells him that, you know, I don't know what the whole conversation was about, but in that conversation, she tells him that she heard voices. And Dr. Zeisel realizes that she heard command voices because she was having a psychotic break. And so Patrick tells the detectives about the conversation he had with Lindsay. And from there, the detectives who work for the prosecutor's office from the Massachusetts State Police were like, oh, she said she heard voices. And they're like, oh, great. So Dr. Zeisel must have told her that. And that's why she's saying that. And it's like, that's your first instinct. Your first instinct is to be like, the doctor told her to say that, which is, I think, ludicrous because the guy is such a pro and I don't think he would ever do that. But anyway, here we go. Let's move on with this.
Wait. Your answer is that would be the theory, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Agreeing with you that that's
Okay.
what was discussed.
All right. And this would be you and is it McElligan?
McElligan.
McElligan.
Yes, sir.
And you're unable to assist us, though, with any of the detail. You do recall that there was a conversation about that.
Correct.
And in the conversation, it was about the conversation that Lindsay had with her husband indicating about voices, right?
Correct.
Using the psychologist's cell phone, right?
Correct.
And there was an indication that the psychologist told her to basically say that. You just told us, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all we have.
You just told us, yes. So, like, why is he hesitating? Is it like when I see a witness hesitating the way this guy was to just say, to agree to what he already knows, which is this is the prosecution's theory, and you can't admit to that, it shows me that you're choosing a side. That's my opinion, but that's what it looks like to me.
Sergeant Lawler, at the time that you were at the Brigham Hospital and at the time the doctor came in, you didn't know anything about a theory of the case, correct?
No.
And you didn't know or overhear anything in outside that room about conversations between the doctor and the defendant, did you?
Correct.
And you indicated.
Oh my God, are they both wearing bow? No, this is a different day. This is Buckingham. She's got her bow. This isn't Sprague, is it? Are they both wearing bows?
That you never had a conversation with the prosecution about their theory of the case, did you?
Did not.
So anything that you recall was simply conversation with another trooper in the unit.
Correct.
And as you sit here in your testimony today and testify about your memory of that particular night, is anything about that conversation with Sergeant McElligan guiding your testimony?
No.
You changed, or your memory changed as to that incident after you had this conversation with Trooper McElligan,
No.
Sergeant McElligan. And in fact, you don't know anything about whether there's any evidence about Dr. Zeisel giving or prompting the defendant to have that conversation with her husband, do you?
No.
All you know factually is what came out of the investigation from what Patrick said the call was and who he said the call was from and how the call occurred, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
So let me address
Yeah, please.
So basically, my contention is that you're obviously up here testifying as honestly as you can. It's pretty apparent, right?
Yes.
And you're very consistent with your oath, and you understand that it's important. And you're trying to, it may be difficult, but you're trying to explain what your memory is about conversation with the lead investigator, McElligan, right? I mean, you're trying to tell us what your memory is, right?
Yes.
So your testimony pertains to your conversation with the lead investigator, McElligan. It's got nothing to do with the fact that you don't recall this or you don't recall that. What you've testified to is for the judge to consider, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's all we have.
All right. Why don't we do this? I'm going to take about a 10-minute break at this point, and we'll come back out and we will resume.
Okay. Christine, I'm so glad you're here. Thanks for becoming a member. Very happy you're here. Lady Harlot says, so I assume the CW is going to call Dr. Zeisel as a witness, right? So he can tell everyone how he planted this defense in her head. Zeisel is on the defense's list. I don't know if the prosecution will call him. I would assume that the prosecution is not going to call him because he's a defense witness and he is their expert doctor, who was one of the first people to see Lindsay after this tragedy happened. So I think that I don't think they'll call him just because he's not going to help them at all. But he is one of the defense's expert witnesses. So I would assume he'd be called for them. Okay. The next person that we got into, let me get the right time code. 154. The next person is
cross-examination.
Letitia Dukes, who was the 54.
Okay.
Hold on.
Just want to put her on the screen. This is Letitia Dukes. So Letitia Dukes she works for South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health Clinic. So she's part of the same clinic as Nurse Gelada. And she is the person who conducted Lindsay's in-person therapy intake. Letitia Dukes is one of the providers in this scenario, especially at South Shore Perinatal behavioral health clinic, who decided to go into her first session with Lindsay with no notes because she wanted to start from at a clean slate and she could make up her own mind about what was going on with Lindsay. And that's difficult for me to swallow because Lindsay was already in a state of panic by the time she saw Letitia Dukes. I thought Letitia Dukes was a great witness. I thought she was very calm. She answered the questions the best that she could. But, you know, Kevin Reddington did sort of tear her apart on Cross. So she did Letitia Dukes did Lindsay's in-person therapy intake on December 2nd, 2022. So this is just a month and a half before all this happened. Letitia Dukes is also named in the civil suit that Lindsay has filed through Rosemary Scapiccio against, you know, for the medical malpractice suit. So she did the intake therapy session with Lindsay and then conducted subsequent sessions on December 5th, 12th, 19th, and a final phone call on December 27th. Somebody asked earlier why Lindsay didn't go back to South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health Clinic after she was rejected from McLean. And I think it's because she didn't trust them. She was like, they've done me wrong so far. And so I don't feel comfortable going back. I do believe she went back to, if I remember from testimony, she did go back to see, or she at least went to talk to Jennifer Tufts, the psychiatrist who had been treating her for a couple of months prior. So after the 27th, Letitia Dukes never met with Lindsay again. She diagnosed Lindsay with postpartum anxiety and depression. Not bipolar, but I don't know. She scored Lindsay 21 out of 21 on the general anxiety disorder test. And that means extreme anxiety, and a 23 out of 30 on the EPTS, which is for depression, which is severe depression. Lindsay admitted to passive suicidal ideation, not wanting to be here, but she consistently denied having an active suicide plan. So they're not going to do anything if she doesn't have a plan. On December 5th, Lindsay reported having continuous intrusive thoughts over the weekend and contacted Aspire Crisis Support, but was turned away from inpatient care because she lacked an active plan to unalive herself. On December 19th, on December 19th, Letitia Dukes noted that Lindsay showed improved sleep and appeared more engaged, smiling and laughing during her virtual visit. So Reddington's probably going to tear that apart. So I want to take you to this moment first. 323. Oh, down.
As far as your role.
Oh, why you got to be so loud, Buckingham? 3. So it's after break. Okay.
Was the next time perhaps that you saw her?
Okay. This is the last meeting I was just talking about. Hey, Cassie, baby. Thanks for being here. No worries. You can always go back and watch. We're going to be here for probably another half hour to an hour at least.
If you could, Ms. Dukes, please look at, I think it was December 12th. Was the next time perhaps that you saw her? Okay. Unless it's there's another intervening period.
So there's December 12th and then there's December 5th.
Oh, okay. So if you could pull out December 5th.
Yes.
And if I can come up and look at it.
Yeah.
They had some issues. So Reddington has to come up and look at Letitia Dukes didn't come with any records. She didn't bring any of her own notes or any records. And so they had to basically give her what they had in evidence of her records. And so Reddington has to go up and stand next to her. So some of this might be difficult to hear, just letting you know.
All right. So on December 5th, again, you were meeting with her for therapeutic intervention, right?
Yes.
And on this occasion, she reported she had a difficult weekend, right?
Yes.
Intrusive thoughts of wanting to die, right?
Yes.
That she contacted Aspire Crisis Support, right?
Yes.
She met with an Aspire clinician, right?
Yes.
And what happened when she met with the Aspire clinician?
She met with the clinician virtually and was told that she did not meet the criteria for inpatient treatment due to not having any suicidal ideation plan.
So if she said, in addition to the fact that she's been in counseling and therapy and seeing psychiatrists and on medications for the past 3 months or whatever the period ultimately would be, and that she wanted to kill herself, didn't want to be here, couldn't care if she died, they told her because she didn't have a plan that they couldn't help her?
Correct.
did they, to your knowledge, make any recommendations? Did they recommended that she attend a day program?
Yes,
All right. And that person from Aspire then said he would send her patient resources, right?
correct.
But nothing ever happened. He never sent her any, you did, but he never sent her any patient resources, right? If you know.
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. All right. So she had you at least to talk to and counsel and advise her. You continued on to make your observations. Fair to say that pretty much things stayed the same as far as her appearance, appearing anxious, appearing sad, unable to relate to people, that type of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
Then
Then you have, is a chief complaint of present illness. And again, that was, oh, wait a minute.
That's not my note.
That's not you. Okay. All right. So you can hold on to that.
Yep, thank you.
he's so cute. I love him.
Now, on December 12th, that was a teleconference that she had called by an appointment with you.
Yes,
And at that point, she reported that she had a difficult weekend and was experiencing intrusive thoughts of wanting to. Do you have it in front of you? I don't want to take advantage of it.
hold on one second.
Takes her a while. She doesn't remember her notes.
I think, Your Honor, that she's looking at the actual. Can it be in evidence? Can I offer that?
Yeah, if I could just say that.
And they got to offer into evidence because she did. I don't know why these people are like not prepared to testify. They should start getting prepared to testify because they're all listed in the civil complaint.
These interventions, and that would be.
They need to be prepared.
Again, I could do what I did before.
She probably had it before.
Right, yeah. It references providers' interventions, and that would that be you, provider?
Correct.
Okay. And you're talking about symptom management, and yet again, she's reporting she had a difficult weekend, experienced intrusive thoughts, wanted to die, didn't have a plan for suicidal plan, but she contacted Crisis over the weekend, and that would be, again, Aspire, apparently, right? There were 2 times she contacted Aspire, not once.
Correct.
Twice.
And just to be
Both times she told
clear,
her that.
Aspire is the suicide hotline. So she called them twice. And she's telling her providers this. And they don't think that's a big deal because she keeps getting turned away. D. Cool said, a little behind, no depressed person has ever laughed. This is a fact. Joke. And then D. Cool's also said, I know you don't know the answer, Mel, but why isn't the Commonwealth presenting the case chronologically? They do every once in a while, but then they throw in somebody. I don't know. I think they're grasping at straws. That's what it seems like to me. I don't think they know what their case is. I think they're waiting for the answers to present themselves as they go along, and they are just hitting a brick wall. That's my opinion.
There's nothing they could do for her, right?
Correct.
And she told you that she was going to start a PHP in Norwell on December 20th, right?
Correct.
But in fact, you were able to, knowing people that you may have and pull strings, you were able to
Oops, sorry.
try to get her into the Rhode Island Women and Infants program, right?
Correct.
Which is a really pretty good program.
Correct.
And did you know that she did, in fact, go to Women and Infants on December 20th? She didn't go to the Norwell program. She went to Women and Infants program, and that she was there for the day and that they basically turned her away.
I did know that she went to the Women and Infants program. I was not sure of the date.
Okay. So if I suggest to you it was the same day that she had told you that she was going to go to the program in Norwell on December 20th, and then that you and Nicole Harden Francis reviewed various options, one of which was that, which made sense, to attend the Women and Infants program, IOP or PHP program, right?
Correct.
And that she, patient, provided you with verbal consent to sign whatever had to be signed and get her into that program, right?
Correct.
So you know that she did on December 20th, after not getting anywhere with Aspire ×2 and after dealing with Gelada for all those times that she dealt with, the other one, Tufts, you were trying to get her into this program, which would be pretty good for a woman that had postpartum problems, right?
Correct.
And you made your referral, you opened the door for her and she got in there to at least be interviewed, right?
Correct.
And they didn't take her, right?
Correct.
You know why?
I'm not aware as to why.
Why?
Would you be surprised if I told you that they indicated that they could not help her out because their diagnosis or secondary diagnosis was that she was overmedicated?
Repeat the question.
Would it surprise you to know that they indicated that they couldn't treat her as a woman with postpartum psychosis or postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety or any of that because their opinion was that she was suffering from an overmedication?
It would surprise me, yes.
Did you hear what she said?
I do not know.
Okay. Did you know that?
Okay, so Letitia Dukes pulled some strings to try to get Lindsay into Women's and Infants in Rhode Island, which would be an inpatient program. She could actually take her kid with her, which would be awesome for Lindsay, in order to help her sort of wean off some of these drugs and make sure that she was monitored. It would probably have been the best thing that could have happened for Lindsay. But when she went to go do the intake at Women and Infants, and she sat there, he said this before, she sat there for like 7 hours in the waiting room, waiting like to be looked at. And they rejected her because they said she was over medicated, meaning all these doctors who had been over prescribing her had over-medicated her. And when he asked Letitia Dukes, would it surprise you to know that when she went to the intake at Women and Infants, they rejected her because she was over-medicated? She made him repeat the question. And then on the second, when he repeated it, she said, that would surprise me. Meaning she had no idea that Lindsay had been rejected from this program because of over-medication. And that blows my mind. Bethany, the lady behind me is my co-host, Rebecca Lavoie. She is marrying off her child this weekend. So, and by that I mean her adult son is getting married. When she said that, I was like, are you friggin' kidding me? This was sort of a last ditch effort to like get her into an inpatient program that would cater to her in postpartum, and she could bring her child so she wouldn't feel like she was abandoning at least one of her children. And this woman, Letitia, like seemed to be concerned and involved and pulled some strings to get her in. And then Lindsay goes there, sits for 7 hours in Rhode Island, and they reject her because she's over-medicated. And this woman, Letitia Dukes, doesn't know anything about that. Excuse me? How's that possible?
The records from Women and Infants indicate that, in fact, on that very same day, they reached out to Nurse Gelada and asked her to call them so that they could discuss the medication, and Gelada never got back to her.
Wow.
I was not aware of that.
I'm sorry?
I was not aware of that.
Okay.
That just looks bad for all of them. Women and Children's reached out to her, to South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health, which is where she was being treated currently. She also had her psychiatrist, Dr. Tufts, but she hadn't seen Dr. Tufts in a bit. She was mostly working with these women who had prescribed her a lot more meds, and Women and Children's rejected her, but they took the extra step. They said, we can't bring you to this program because we can't determine what's really going on with you because you're taking too many meds. And so they called South Shore Perinatal Behavioral Health to discuss it with Gelada, who we just saw testify on day 11, who was prescribing her all these drugs, and she never called them back. She never called them back. And her therapist didn't know about it, that Gelada didn't call them back. So it sounds to me like Women and Children's really wanted to get her into the program, but they needed to figure out the drug situation first. And in order to do that, they have to work with South Shore Behavioral Health or Perinatal Behavioral Health. And Gelada just never called them back. Meh. She was on vacation or doing whatever she was doing. She just never called them back. Gelada just testified that she never got a call from them. I find that hard to believe. I'll be honest with you. I really do. I'd love to see some phone records. I'd love to see a voicemail. I'd love to see something, but it's hard to believe. Like, who's lying in that situation? Yes, please hit the like button. Thanks, Deidre, for saying that. This case sucks, and they're counting on hung jury, at least because it only takes one. Knowing this, the Commonwealth, they will try it again. I really hope they don't. I really, really just hope that they sort of let this, go, because it's too much. It's just too much. They've already done way too much. But yeah, please hit the like button. If you are watching from Twitter, come on over here to YouTube. Come on over and watch with us. Get involved in the chat. We've got 500 people watching, but only 70 on YouTube, which means everybody else is coming from Twitter. And though I love sometimes I love Twitter. Most days I don't. We would love it if you came over here and engaged with us. So come on over to YouTube and jump in the chat. Okay. So let me see. This next moment I wanted to bring up was 338.
A number of...
Okay, let me get back to the beginning of his question.
Prior to morphing, if you will, into postpartum psychosis consists of the intrusive, but so if I suggest to you that in that particular Mass General Hospital article, it goes on about postpartum period, and do you agree that the postpartum period, 85% of women that are pregnant or after pregnancy experience some type of mood disturbance? Would you agree with that?
No, I wouldn't agree with that.
All right. Would you agree that 10 to 15% of women develop more significant symptoms of depression or anxiety?
I agree.
Okay. And then postpartum psychiatric illness is then divided into three categories: One sounds like something out of the 50s. Postpartum blues. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
You've heard that expression before,
Correct.
The blues.
right? And it can be bothersome, it can be aggravating, it can be intrusive, but it's not threatening the life of the mother or a baby or anybody else, right?
Correct.
And it's fairly common, right?
Correct.
Number 2 would be postpartum depression. Now, that's a different issue, correct?
Yes.
And number 3 would be postpartum psychosis. Is that right?
Yes.
All right. Now, postpartum depression, prior to morphing, if you will, into postpartum psychosis, consists of a number of symptomology, right? For you to diagnose a woman, whether she's pregnant, has a baby, or after having the baby, with postpartum depression, there are certain things that are symptoms that you look for, right?
Correct.
Okay. One of which would be depressed or sad mood, right?
Yes.
Lindsay had that, right?
Yes.
Next would be tearfulness, right?
Yes.
Lindsay had that, right?
Correct.
Next one would be loss of interest in social activities or usual activities or friends. She had that, right?
Correct.
Feelings of guilt. She had that, right?
She didn't express feelings of guilt.
Okay.
She did.
Feelings of worthlessness. Did she express that she felt worthless?
She did not express that.
How about fatigue? Did she have that?
She did not express fatigue, but lack of sleep.
I know, lack of sleep. Were you aware that, in fact, that she had indicated that she was so wiped out that she couldn't even get out of bed, couldn't put her feet on the ground, and if she did, she felt heavy?
I did not hear that from her.
Okay. How about, you mentioned it, you got it, sleep disturbance is another issue, correct?
Correct.
She had that, right?
Yes.
Change in appetite. She had that, lost 10, 15 pounds, right?
Yes.
Poor concentration. She had that, right? She said she was numb. She could not focus. Suicidal thoughts.
Yes.
We know she didn't have a plan, but she had suicidal thoughts, right?
Correct.
So under the Mass General Hospital research project for women that are suffering from postpartum issues, she pretty much hit every one of the postpartum depression symptoms, correct?
Correct.
And then it talks about if it increases in severity, significant anxiety symptoms may occur. Not generalized anxiety. Significant anxiety symptoms can occur. Is that right?
Correct.
And one of the ways that you determine that is by the test that it can be administered to a person who is in a postpartum status. And that would be what we talked about, the Edinburgh test, right?
Correct.
And you're aware that she was given the Edinburgh test and had a 23 out of 30, I think it was.
I was not aware.
Okay. And some women develop panic attacks referred to as hypochondriasis. You agree with that, right?
Agree with that in reference to.
Lindsay, she had panic attacks and complained of having panic attacks.
Yes.
Okay. And then you can get into the various diagnoses of which, on a postpartum person in that time frame, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, right?
Correct.
Or bipolar 1 or bipolar 2, right?
Are you using them interchangeably or could develop?
Trust me, let's say bipolar 1,
Yeah.
okay? So that would be one mental disease, correct?
Correct.
And it's pretty serious stuff, right?
Yes.
And if a person is diagnosed as bipolar, one of the things that you shouldn't, if you know, is prescribe SSRIs such as Prozac or Zoloft, right? If you know.
I'm not sure of that.
Okay. Would you agree that with various cases dealing with postpartum depression, all of the symptoms that we talked about, they utilize the Edinburgh Postnatal Depression Scale, which is a 10-item questionnaire that can identify women that have postpartum depression and the severity that they have. And on the scale, a score of 12 or greater, it raises concern and indicates a need for more thorough evaluation, right?
Correct.
Do you know whether she was thoroughly evaluated by anybody other than Tufts and Gelada?
I'm only aware of Tufts and Gelada.
Okay. I mean, you were trying to do the best you could with what you had to work with, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now we get to postpartum psychosis.
There we go.
That's the third category, right? Postpartum psychosis, you'd agree, is the most severe form of postpartum psychiatric illness. Is that right?
Correct.
Would you agree that it occurs in averages about 2 out of 1,000 women, right?
Correct.
And its presentation can be very dramatic with onset of symptoms, and that can be within a year, according to the CDC, Center for Disease Control,
Yes.
right? Okay. And when it hits you, it just hits you, bang, quick, right?
Correct.
So smart.
And when you think about 2 out of 1,000 people, seems like a daunting number. But if I tell you that Fenway Park, when they're full, when they're playing the Yankees, they have 37,700 people. If you take the 37,000 people and you multiply it by 2, that would mean as you're sitting there behind first, 74 women possibly have postpartum psychosis, right?
Not sure of that number, but.
Well, if you agree that it's 2 out of 1,000, according to the studies and the statistics, and if Fenway Park has 37,000 seats,
there you go.
Times 2 would be 74.
Okay.
That's a pretty large number of people, right? 74 people out of that crowd?
Yes.
Okay. It's not that horribly unusual. I mean, it's something that perhaps you've dealt with in your practice, right?
Yes.
And when you're dealing with people with postpartum psychosis, do you agree that generally they present with an episode of bipolar illness? If you know.
No.
No, they don't? Or no, you don't know?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
He's got his little notebook. I love
Bottom
it.
line is, from your dealing with Lindsay, she appeared to be sincere, right?
Correct.
She appeared to be looking for help, right?
Correct.
She appeared to be hurting, right?
Yes.
Turning in every direction she could for help, right?
Correct.
And the last time you saw her was when?
December 19th.
Okay, thank you very much.
So again, Kevin Reddington coming with some powerful questions and dispelling what the Commonwealth is trying to do here. The next person up on the stand was a Duxbury police officer for God knows what reason. His name is Cameron Daly. I will put him on the screen, though he was only on the witness box for like 2 seconds. Let me get to that. There was a recross, but nothing. There wasn't anything fascinating coming out of that. Oh, this was the other part. No, I already got that. Okay. Cameron Daly comes in at 3:50. Okay, this guy. So this guy testified to standing watch outside of Lindsay's Brigham and Women's Hospital room. And he confirmed that she was intubated asleep and no outside visitors were permitted. Do you guys feel like you've already heard this testimony from 17 other people? Because I certainly have. The next person who was up was another wasted witness who didn't really add much to the conversation and just sort of waste everybody's taxpayer dollars here in Plymouth County. And this was after the lunch break. Just missed it. Okay. This lady, she is the Assistant Deputy Superintendent Nicole Bradley with the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department. She authenticated official Sheriff's Department hospital watch logs detailing the 24-hour guard placed on Lindsay CLANCY. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Okay, and this is when we got into the horrific shit that these women put everyone in this courtroom through, not least of all Lindsay. I'm only going to put her face on the screen because I want you to be able to see her. This woman is Renee Stonebridge. She is director of neuropathology, OCME. So she's a medical examiner. I'm not going to get into everything that she testified to because it was so friggin' graphic. I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing here, you guys? She specialized in eye and brain autopsies, and she did that for the 3 kids. So we're not going to get into it. But what started happening during her testimony was that Lindsay, who was sitting in the courtroom for this and was not taken out of the courtroom until it was too much, was literally head in hands on the table in front of her, sobbing, and uncontrollable sobbing. Like she was trying to stay quiet. You could hear her trying to stay quiet. And then she eventually muttered the words, I can't. And the judge finally stopped everything. What I found so horrible about this situation was how unaffected the prosecutors were. They just carried on with their gruesome questions. The doctor on the stand carried on with her gruesome testimony. And Lindsay is just sobbing. So Rage Knitter, the point of the stipulations is to prevent this. However, the prosecution didn't agree to the stipulation. So the defense put it on the record that they stipulated. So this is literally them just wanting to drag this out and abuse everybody. And it's disgusting. So they're continuing this out of spite. They're doing this. They're annoyed. You can hear it in their voices, but they just keep going. They keep it moving through this woman's sobs. And that's not okay. So Lindsay goes out. And then the judge, talks to the jury because the jury's like, from what I heard, Bob Mata mentioned that one of the women on the jury was very upset and And so I think it was probably good that they took the jury out, and they took Lindsay out, tried to, give her a few minutes to collect herself. Her nurses were present. She has 2 nurses with her at all times, and they helped her out of the courtroom. And I don't know what they did with her while she was gone from the courtroom. But the first break they took was a good 10 to 15 minute break. And then we came back, and the judge said this.
Your Honor, for the purpose of the record, we return.
Well, members of the jury, I just kind of want to revisit an instruction I've given you a couple times, I think, during the course of this trial. It's important to understand and remember that sometimes there's evidence that's presented in the trial that creates an emotional reaction. But as jurors who have taken an oath to follow the law, I'm instructing you that the law says you must separate any emotional reaction on your part from the informational value and weight that the evidence produces. Your verdict in this case is going to have to be based solely on the evidence, and it's not going to be. It cannot be based on sympathy or anger or passion or prejudice. All right, so you've got to keep that in mind. And so with this, we're going to go to the next witness.
Okay. So the next witness was this woman. I'm just going to keep her face on the screen. Her testimony was awful, was gruesome. It was graphic. It was uncalled for. Her name is Dr. Barbara Vidal Olson. She is the medical examiner for the OCME. She did the autopsies on the children. Lindsay ended up not being able to handle this again. And again, head and hands on the desk. They had to call another break. It was only just a few minutes later that they called another break. They brought her back in. I don't know whose choice it is or why she's got to be in the courtroom for this, but she does apparently. And Kevin was doing his damnedest to help her. But, he's not asking any questions of these medical examiners. He's already stipulated to that. So this is basically, this woman finished her testimony and the day was over. The judge was like, everybody just go home. It was just heartbreaking.
For identification.
I'm trying to get through this. Okay, I have nothing further. Thank God.
Is there anything? Thank you, Dr. Step down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm only giving you this moment. I didn't want to go over any of the testimony about the kids, but I only wanted to give you this moment because this is the end of it. And this is how she's still responding when it's done.
All right. Members of the jury, we're going to break at this time. I'm going to ask you to come back tomorrow at 9 o'clock. I would expect the schedule similar to what we had today. I'm going to remind you again, don't talk about this case. Don't read about this case. Don't read about any similar cases. Don't watch anything. Don't do any research. Put this out of your head for tomorrow morning. All right. And I'll see everybody tomorrow morning. Thank you so much.
All right. Good. Will you help us, Mr. Chair, please? This way.
These women are soulless. They don't care.
Counsel, anything we need to address before tomorrow morning?
No, thank you.
So we'll be in recess on this matter till tomorrow.
Okay. So that's what everybody was talking about yesterday. For those of you who listened to the testimony, I'm sorry you had to hear that. There was literally no need for it. Everyone knows what happened to these children. And for these 2 ghouls here, these 2, frickin' frack, these 2, for them to drag everybody through this, not least of all Lindsay, but everybody else who is invested in this case. Sorry, I'm just going to figure out where my layout is. There was literally no need for it. And it's disgusting. And they didn't even have any respect in their voices. Like, I'm a human being. If this were my job to bring this case and I chose to do it, and I was having to ask these medical examiners about really horrific details about these children's brains and their eyeballs and all this shit. And I heard a woman sobbing. I think I would have a really difficult time. I would just be like, Yeah, we get it. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. There was no need for the testimony. It didn't add anything to the case. It didn't add anything to the story. The only thing that I can think is that they tried to establish that she and actually her witnesses, the prosecution's witnesses, like they disagreed with the prosecution's theory. This is the only bit of detail I'm going to give you about this because I think it's really important. The prosecutors were really trying to push that Lindsay took her time with this crime and that it took minutes. And the medical examiner was like, absolutely not. This could have happened in 20 to 30 seconds or something like that. 30 seconds was the highest number. And she was very emphatic about that. So I thought that was really important. That's the only important thing that was said in the last 30, 40 minutes of court yesterday while Lindsay was literally hyperventilating and sobbing at the defense table. And, you know, Reddington did he objected several times. Like, do we really need to do this? He was emphatic about it. Do we really need to do this? Is this we've already stipulated? So he's putting it on the record again. And these bitches, I'm sorry, I hate to use the B word, but these bitches, they just carried on like nothing. They couldn't hear the sobbing woman next to them. And I really cannot figure out what their motivation is. I'll be honest with you. I can't figure out if they just don't care. They're like cold-hearted prosecutors who just don't care anymore, or they really think that she's a monster. They've convinced themselves of that. Or yes, the jury does know the defense made the stipulation because the judge told the jury. I don't know what that's going to do for the jury, Lady Harlot. I don't know how they're going to think about that. But I think they're understanding that Kevin Reddington isn't cross-examining any of these witnesses because they are not arguing the state's case that she did this. But the state doesn't have to prove she did this. She's already admitted to that. They've already stipulated to that. What the state has to prove is that she was sane at the moment this happened. That's all they have to prove. They could have literally a week and a half of witnesses could have been thrown out the window. We didn't even need to hear from them. But they are doing this weird painstaking thing. And they think that the jury is on their side, I think. And I have a hard time believing the jury is on their side, but I could be totally wrong. I watched a bit of Melanie Little's stream yesterday, and she was saying, a lot of people have been saying, are these two women noobs? Are they new at this? Do they know what they're doing? And she looked them up, and one of them has been in the DA's office for 23 years, and the other one's 15. And when I heard that, I was even further disgusted. I know that they might be desensitized to emotional court cases, but this goes above and beyond. This is torture, and this doesn't need to be happening. So I don't know what their motivation is. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're doing this. And Reddington, he has the right amount of disgust for this. Yeah. Let me just look at some of the comments. I just need to take a minute here. Sorry. Lady Harlot says she's not honoring those kids. She's exploiting their tragedy for her conviction rate. I completely 1000% agree with you. This was a heartbreaking day. It was really hard to hear. It was really hard to watch. I did watch the whole thing so I could talk to you guys about it, but that's the only reason I watched it. D Cool says, I hope it was Lindsay's choice to come back in and no one was making her. I don't know what the rules are. I guess we could look it up. Let's look it up really quickly. Does it? Because Melanie Little was also making the point that Adam Montgomery in New Hampshire, who heinously unalived his child Harmony, he didn't even have to come to court. He just refused to come to court, and they still carried on with the case. So, but that was New Hampshire. To be in court if testimony is too hard to hear. To be in court in a criminal case in Massachusetts. Let's see what the interwebs say. No, a defendant does not get to leave the courtroom just because the testimony is too hard to hear. In fact, Rule 18 of Massachusetts Rules of Criminal Procedure A criminal defendant has an absolute constitutional right and generally a strict obligation to be physically present at all critical stages of their trial, including during witness testimony. If a defendant cannot hear what is being said, the solution is never to skip court. Rather, the defense must alert the judge immediately so the court can fix the technical or physical audio issue. That's not what we're dealing with here. So the only times a defendant can be absent from a Massachusetts criminal trial are if they voluntarily choose to waive their presence with the judge's strict approval, if they become so disruptive that the judge orders them removed, or if they are facing a minor misdemeanor where the attorney handles a specific hearing on their behalf. So it sounds to me like either Kevin wanted her to be there or she chose to be there. They did not ask for her to be waived. The judge did not remove her, even though I would call it disruptive, even though disruptive is a bad word for this situation, but that's probably what it was. But yeah, I don't know whose choice it was. I don't know if it was a defense's choice or what, but Mackenzie said, sending you a hug, Mel. I can hear what a toll it is taking on you in your voice. I am a little tired and I have so much sorrow over this case. When a person is incapable of not making a joke, can't make a joke, that was not okay. Yeah. Yeah. Callie says, my heart breaks for Lindsay. This should not be televised, but I do believe she should understand what she's done. I believe she should understand what she's done. And I think she does. I think when she was sobbing, that was me understanding that she understands what she did. I disagree, Callie, that it shouldn't be televised. The reason I say that is because I don't like the precedent it sets for transparency with the community. Her community and the world and the nation need to understand what happened here and there needs to be full transparency on how this case is being tried, because it will affect other cases. Mackenzie, thank you so much for the $10 tip. Thank you for taking on this hard case. Get a coffee and take care of you. I appreciate you. That's very generous. Thank you so much. So I do believe that we should be watching this case. I mean, I don't want to watch all of it, and I don't want you all to have to traumatize yourself by watching it, which is why I'm covering it the way that I am. But I made a decision to watch all of this case because I wanted to understand how they were going to try the case and the defense, like what defense was going to be put on and how this is going to affect women's mental health in the future. And I think we should all be aware of how these cases will be affecting all of us. The jury, I already said that one. Science and Sass says, even if you're a total mercenary, the way the Commonwealth is running their case is a huge waste of time, resources, and taxpayer money. Yep. Joy says it's just a part of the case in their minds. It's another day at the office. Agreed. Joy says, playing devil's advocate, we have seen and listened to the medical examiner testimony in other cases without this kind of discuss. We have to think why. I've listened to a lot of medical examiners. I've never heard them detail the testimony of body parts that were cut away from a victim. And the way that I look at this, let me just go back to my notes about who these people are. This is a direct decision made by the prosecution. They called Renee Stonebridge, director of neuropathology at OCME. This woman specifically she conducted specialized eye and brain autopsies. Now, the eye and brain autopsies were, they were talking about asphyxiation. Let's just be real here. They were getting down to the bottom of that. And she had to tell the jury what she did in her autopsy. But she went into odd detail about the eye and the brain and all this stuff. Detail I didn't think that the jury needed to hear. We're not even thinking about what the jury is going through, the trauma that they're experiencing, having to look at these pictures. So keep in mind, they were putting pictures of these children on autopsy tables and the parts of their body They were putting those pictures on the screen for the jury. Is that needed? Do we need it? Do we need to see that? Does anyone in the jury look at those pictures and go, oh, yes, I understand the scientific significance of looking at that. Yeah, I get that. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for doing that. No, they're probably not even looking at it. They probably don't want to look at it. They probably don't want to hear any of this shit. All they need to hear is a doctor say, here are the reasons why I think this took this amount of time, or this happened to this child. The grainy detail they got into was just disturbing. It was disgusting. And completely uncalled for, in my opinion. Yes, Chloe, I will be covering today's trial too. I do that the day after. So my recaps come the day after the active trial. So tomorrow I will be covering day 13, which is happening today. I've sat in through some of the testimony, but I need to get caught up after I get out of here from talking to you guys. But yes, I've been doing it every day that I can. And I tend to do it the day after. So I have a minute to think about how I want to handle it, because a lot of testimony just pops up on me, and I wasn't expecting what happened yesterday. And then when it started, I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? But I sat through it and I listened to it. And unfortunately, I listened to Lindsay cry for like a half an hour and sob and be hyperventilating, and it was bad. Okay, let's see. She could be crying for attention from the jury, but it doesn't feel that way to me. I don't feel biased. And I mean, maybe I am. Maybe I have confirmation bias in this case. I don't believe that she was faking it. I'll say that. Okay. Lady Harlot says, agreed, Mel, this case is too important not to televise. Yeah, no, not the people over here, Callie, don't think, well, I don't know. I won't speak for my audience, but I am not entertaining any of the conspiracy theories that Patrick did this. Patrick was a victim in this. And I don't believe in any of those conspiracy theories. I do believe that Lindsay did this. She is going to be held responsible for it. She is already living in her own prison that is her body. And the only thing that we have to determine in this case is if she was sane at the moment it happened, and if it was premeditated. And if they find that she was not sane, if the jury finds that she is not guilty by reason of insanity, she's going to go to a mental health treatment facility. Now, there's a possibility that it could only take 6 months and she might be out, but I don't think that's what's going to happen here. Lindsay is still suffering. And if she is bipolar, she's got a long road ahead of her, not to mention all the physical things she's going to have to deal with from her paralysis. But I think that Lindsay is being held accountable for this. She is sitting in a courtroom and she's having to hear every little detail about what she did. And whether she is found guilty or not guilty, the only difference is she's going to be either spending her life in a wheelchair in prison, or she's going to be spending her life in a wheelchair in a mental health facility. And at the end of the day, she has admitted to what she did. She has already said, I did this. I am responsible for this. Sentence me. But the prosecution wanted to drag this out. And that's where I find fault with them. Yeah, I don't want to think about the pictures either. I don't want to see the pictures. I don't want to think about the pictures. There's a media ban on showing anything like that, and a media ban on the 911 and all that. So, I mean, yeah, it's, I'm glad that we're not seeing them. I feel sorry for the jury that they're having to look at those pictures. Okay. I mean, it's possible she's faking it. I'm just telling you my opinion, Callie, that it didn't feel to me like she was faking it. Yeah, I mean, of course there's a possibility. Of course there is. I mean, I also think that having to be confronted with this would make almost anybody upset and crying. And if they were your own children and you're being confronted with what you did, I can see that being, part of it as well. But to me, what I felt was that it was a grieving mother for the thing that she did to these poor children. I mean, imagine what your brain, like she must still be in a place where she doesn't want to be here anymore. That's what that's what Kevin Reddington keeps telling us. Yeah, we talked about this the other day. Lady Harlot said, I don't think Patrick did it. I did have questions about the body temperature, but Mel in the chat set me straight. So just for those of you who weren't here when we were talking about the body temperature, we went ahead and did a little Google on it. And basically, a body that doesn't have proper clothing on, and it sounds like she didn't have any shoes on, and might be wet from either sweat or blood or whatever it might be, can go into a hypothermic state. Lindsay's temperature was 82 degrees when they found her, or when they got her, the first responders. And that can happen in 30 minutes. So makes me question what happened with John O'Keefe. I'm not gonna lie about that. Yes, Christine, I believe I heard something about that too. I did not follow the Vallow case, the Lori Vallow case, like I'm following this case and Karen Reed and Veronica Rodriguez and Lucy Letby and all those other cases. But Christine says, if I remember correctly, Lori Vallow tried to leave the courtroom during the presentation of her son's autopsy photos, but was not allowed to leave. That could be. Yeah. I think Ellen Marsh said this the other night too. Joy says, one lawyer said this case is basically about which building to house her in. That's exactly right. And whether she was sane at the moment it happened. Yeah. Callie said, oh my God, I was just going to ask if that made you think of John O'Keefe. That stood out to me. Wild. Yeah. I mean, they're saying that John O'Keefe's body temperature was the same as Lindsay Clancy's, and Lindsay Clancy had only been outside for about a half an hour, whereas John O'Keefe was supposed to be out in the middle of a blizzard with like really cold temps, only wearing a hoodie and drunk, laying in the snow for 6 hours. I don't think so. I do not think so. Yes, verified official attorney Ellen Marie Marsh says, me and Rebecca and Ellen, we all call ourselves lawyers on TV. Okay. That is all I have for today, guys. I do need to jump off. I still have to get caught up. I think court's still in session. So I'm going to be getting caught up with everything that happened today. And we will go over that tomorrow. What time did I say we're doing that tomorrow? We're going to be doing a later in the afternoon stream again, just so I can get everything caught up. And also I think that in the morning, most people are watching court on other channels. And so I'm glad y'all were here. There's still 522 of you here, although I think you're mostly from Twitter. But those of you who are here and engaging in the chat, I really appreciate you. As always, please tip your server if you like what we do over here. And if you send over a tip through Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal, all at the top of the screen, also pinned in the chat, I will read your chat aloud, your message aloud, unless you tell me not to, but make sure you do that in the beginning of the message because I have a tendency to just pick up my phone and start reading. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you for being so generous. Thank you for helping me keep the lights on. Thanks for sticking it out with me while Rebecca's marrying off her adult son this weekend. And I will see you tomorrow. Please don't forget to like the video. Please don't forget to share, subscribe, comment, become a member, tell your friends. Know that we love you and appreciate you. Please take care of your mental health. Please go hug your people and touch some grass. And I will see you tomorrow.
You hear it first in the break in the story. One little crack and the whole thing gets wary. A witness swears but the timeline bends. A smile too smooth and the trail just ends. Mel Barrett says, hold up, look again. Rebecca Lavoie follows every thread. If it feels too neat, then it's not the truth. There's a shadow line running through the room. Something's off, something's off. You can feel it in the bones. Something's off, something's off. When the facts won't come home. Something's off, something's off. And the case won't stay in place. Something's off. We're the ones who chase